Chapter 1884. 1884 Xiao Ran's Dragon Gate 1. Brother, what do you want to do? On the roof of the villa, Lu Mingxin looked at her brother's strange expression. As her younger sister who had lived together for more than 20 years, she naturally knew her brother very well. I want to make a difference. Even if I can't be like Master, I want to shine on this planet. Xiao Ran's eyes revealed a firm expression. He had the fortune that no one else had, and he had a powerful and invincible master. Under such circumstances he could no longer make any achievements. Xiao Ran was too incompetent. Oh, I do support Xiao Ran in establishing his own faction. Moreover, with your strength, you can compete with a group of divine sons and heaven's favorites. Ji Lingfei's eyes lit up as she spoke in agreement to Xiao Ran. Xiao Ran was slightly silent, and his heart was also slightly excited. This was a bright era. The divine sons and heaven's favorites competed for glory. Everyone had the chance to become gods and become ancestors, standing at the peak of this era. Xiao Ran was not weaker than others. If you want to establish a faction, you need to have your own people now. This may require you to display some of your strength and make people come over to join you. You can also recruit some of the elite experts on Earth. Many of the elite experts on Earth are not weaker than the disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace, especially those heaven's favorites. Moreover, when the time comes, I will also join your faction. I will help you. Ji Lingfei stood there and said to him with a smile on her face, "This is just my idea. I still have to consider the specifics." Xiao Ran looked at Ji Lingfei and smiled at her. The three of us as a family can do anything well. Lu Mingxin looked at her brother and Ji Lingfei. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly as she grabbed their hands. Ji Lingfei held them with a face full of smiles. Apart from Xiao Ran's slightly red face, there was also some anticipation in his eyes. In the past he could not match up to Ji Lingfei in terms of both strength and background. But now, his master had returned, giving him great confidence. I need to inform sect leader Ling and Uncle Tang first. Xiao Ran thought of his master's matter and immediately took out his phone to contact the two. When they heard the news, excitement appeared on their faces. Sect leader Ling only had one son, and Tang Jiuqiao only had one daughter. They had not seen each other for more than 10 years, and they had missed each other for a long time. Master, I have already informed sect leader Ling and Uncle Tang. If nothing unexpected happens, they will be able to arrive by this evening. The three of them walked to the hall on the first floor of the villa. Xiao Ran walked over and said, "Oh, have you contacted them? That's good. If you are staying here temporarily, tell Qinglong to get someone to build a house around here." Wang Xian nodded and instructed Xiao Ran. "Yes, Master." Xiao Ran nodded and asked, "Master, where are the other disciples of the Dragon Gate?" They should have moved to this area. I have already disbanded the Dragon Gate. Many of them are already married and have children. We can't let them fight and kill anymore." Wang Xian smiled. He had already informed the demonic green dragon to have the group of draconids move to the nearby area. It was not easy to build a room now. It would be completed in a few days. They should be coming to the area in the next few days. The Dragon Gate has disbanded? Xiao Ran looked thoughtful when he heard Wang Xian's words. Have you guys eaten? If not, come and eat something. Wang Xian looked at the two little girls who were eating at the table and said to Xiao Ran and the rest, "There's no need, Master. We had already eaten when we came." Xiao Ran shook his head. "Tell me about Earth after I left." Wang Xian nodded and gestured for them to sit down before he spoke to Xiao Ran. Xiao Ran immediately told him about what happened on Earth after he left. Time passed slowly and they chatted for 4 to 5 hours. Dragon King. In the afternoon, sect leader Ling Xiao and Tang Yinshuan's father, Tang Jiuqiao, arrived one after another. "It's good that you're all right, it's good that you're all right." They heaved a heavy sigh of relief when they heard Wang Xian say that Windling Tian, Tang Yinxian, and the rest were safe and sound. Sect leader Ling, father-in-law Yinxian, Windling Tian, and the rest were unable to come because of their cultivation. "Why don't you guys go over and visit them?" Wang Xian said to sect leader Ling and Tang Jiuqiao. "Little Xian, we haven't seen each other for more than 10 years. I want to visit Yinxian." Tang Jiuqiao immediately replied. After he finished speaking, he looked at sect leader Ling. Sect leader Ling was a little hesitant. "It's not that I don't want to see Ling Tian and the rest, but I still have a bunch of subordinates following me. I was planning to establish the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect again. Sect leader, why don't you hand over the sect brothers to me? At this moment, Xiao Ran, who was standing at the side, hesitated for a moment before speaking. Xiao Ran? You want to establish a faction? Sect leader Ling was slightly stunned as he looked at Xiao Ran in astonishment. I have this plan, but it hasn't been decided yet. Xiao Ran nodded. Sect leader Ling pondered for a moment before looking at Ji Lingfei, who was beside Xiao Ran. Alright, to be honest, with the strength of a few hundred of us, even if we rebuild the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect, it would only be a nameless small sect. Speaking of which, I'm not afraid of you laughing at us, Xiao Ran. We occupied a mountain peak in the Daxing Mountains, but in the end we were chased away. Now that your strength has increased, you still have Miss Ji to help you. It's much better for them to follow you than to follow me. Sect leader Ling decided and immediately stood up. I'll talk to my brothers outside. Yes, sect, I'll go with you. Xiao Ran stood up and followed sect leader Ling out. When the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect joined the Lingxiao Treasured Palace, other than the other teams in the middle, there were still over 200 people who were accepted as disciples by the experts of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. Most of these 200 people were at the peak of the 9th rank in the 9th rank. There were only 20 or so people at the Profound Void Realm. This strength was considered relatively weak in the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. However, on Earth, every one of them was a pretty good expert. Qitian, take them back to the Dragon Palace and let Prime Minister Gui take good care of them. The disciples of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect did not have much objection to following Xiao Ran. After all, Xiao Ran was also a disciple of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect in the past and was once the strongest person in the sect. After settling the matter, Wang Xian asked Ao Qitian to bring sect leader Ling, Tang Jiuqiao, and the rest to the Transcendence Continent. At this point, apart from Ajia, the matter with the girls had been settled. Everyone in Jianghu City who is above level 7 of Transcendence, come to the entrance of the Song Group building within 10 minutes. The Heaven's Palm sect has something to announce. In the evening, just as Ao Qitian left with sect leader Ling and the rest, a voice resounded across the entire Jianghu City once again. Ha! This made Wang Xian slightly stunned. This voice sounded once in the afternoon. This was the second time. Chapter 1885. 1885 Dragon Gate 2 1885. What happened? In the villa, Wang Xian asked Mo Qinglong, who was beside him. Dragon King, they are some powerhouses from the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. They have established a Heaven Palm Academy in Jianghu City. They should announce their strength at noon today. Why did they gather all the people in the city who are above Transcendent Level 7 this time? Mo Qinglong, who was standing at the side, also spoke with a half-understanding tone. Heaven Palm Academy? Then let's go and take a look. There's nothing to do here anyway. Wang Xian stood up and said to Mo Qinglong. Since there was nothing to do in the villa, he still had to go and take a look at Jianghu City after such a major incident. It's the Dragon King. Mo Qinglong nodded. Master, let's go and take a look as well. The one who established the Heaven Palm sect is Zhou Tian, the fourth son of deity on the God Ascension Board, and 2 powerhouses on the God Ascension Board. Zhou Tian has the strength of a level 1 demigod. The other 2 powerhouses on the God Ascension list are stronger. One of them is a level 3 demigod while the other one is a level 4 demigod. There should be some other demigod powerhouses. Xiao Ran also heard this voice. When he saw that Wang Xian wanted to go over and take a look, he immediately said, Okay. Wang Xian nodded and walked out of the villa. Huaer Kaier, let's go. Daddy will bring you guys out to play. Wang Xian shouted at the 2 little guys who were playing on the slide formed by the branches of the villa. Let's go out to play. Kiki, Daddy, catch me. Huaer immediately revealed an excited expression. Kaier slid down from the top of the villa. Huaer, the little girl, jumped down mischievously and stretched out her arms for Wang Xian to catch her. Wang Xian had a deep understanding of Huaer's mischievousness the moment she whipped him. He stretched out his hand helplessly and caught the little girl. He placed her on the ground and held one in each hand. Let's go. Wang Xian said as he walked towards the center of Jianghu City. Dragon King. Let's go and take a look too. Let's go, let's go. I'm really envious of those powerful divine sons and powerhouses on the God Ascension Board. With their strength, they can occupy a city and recruit disciples. In the courtyard, a group of disciples who followed sect leader Ling gathered in the courtyard of the villa. When they saw Wang Xian and the rest coming out, they immediately shouted respectfully in unison and followed closely behind. The group of people walked towards the center of the city outside. Quick, quick, the Heaven Palm sect has moved into our Jianghu city and established the Heaven Palm Academy. In the future, the entire Jianghu city will respect them. Let's hurry over. I wonder what they have to announce and gather all the powerhouses in the city. Who knows? In the past 2 days, the few million disciples of the precious palace of skyscraping have occupied the divine mountains and ancient lands in various cities. They have established sects and academies to develop their own forces. I guess they are trying to recruit some people. Along the way, one by one, they rushed to the center of the city. The sounds of conversation entered their ears. Wang Xian and the rest were not in a hurry. He just wanted to see what the powerhouses of the Heaven Palm sect had to announce. When they rushed over, they realized that there were already hundreds of thousands of people gathered in front of the Song Group building. There were only a few thousand people in the center. These few thousand people were people whose strength had reached at least level 7 of the supernatural realm in Jianghu City. More than 1,000 people stood in the center, led by the Song family. Hundreds of thousands of people came to watch the show. In the sky in front of the Song Corporation building, a group of more than 100 people floated in the sky. The leader was a young man in golden clothing. The young man wore a crown, and on the crown there were 2 words, "In control of the sky." The young man had an imposing bearing, and the corners of his head were lofty. He was like a shooting star in the night sky, very eye-catching. I didn't expect the 4th son of deity to come to our Jianghu city in person. Son of deity of Zhou Tian. The aura from him is so powerful. When they came to the front, Wang Xian and the rest heard the whispers around them. They did not go to the center but stood in the crowd behind them. 10 minutes have passed. I believe everyone knows my name. I am Zhou Tian, son of deity of the Lingxiao treasured palace. At this moment, Zhou Tian, who was floating in the center, raised his head slightly and swept his gaze over the thousands of people in the center. I established the Heaven Palm sect with 2 experts on the God Sealing role. Now I am stationed in Jianghu City to establish the Heaven Palm Academy. From now on I am the king of Jianghu City. Do you have any objections? He looked down at the thousands of Jianghu City experts and asked indifferently. No objections. Zhou Tian's divine son, we have no objections at all. In the center, everyone heard his words and immediately replied. With Zhou Tian's strength, he was completely invincible in Jianghu City. They had no time to curry favor with him, so how could they object? The Song family members standing at the very front raised their brows slightly when they heard his words, but they didn't say anything. If you don't object, then our Heaven Palm sect will set the rules. Now you should know that with the appearance of the dark ancient land, evil spirits and monsters will run rampant. Jianghu City may soon fall into a crisis. Our Heaven's Palm sect will be stationed in Jianghu City, so naturally, we will protect the safety of this city. We will select a group of Heaven's Palm Academy security guards from among you to be responsible for protecting the safety of the academy and the city. Those who join our Heaven's Palm Academy will become Jianghu City's aristocrats, and will receive the protection of our Heaven's Palm sect. Zhou Tian set the rules high and mighty. Oh? Hearing Zhou Tian's words, the thousands of people in the center looked pensive and hesitant. Being the security guard of the Sky Palm Academy had its pros and cons. This made many people look hesitant. The Sky Palm Academy will be led by the Song family. It will be established in half a month. At that time, we will recruit elite disciples to join. Zhou Tian stood there and continued to speak, his tone filled with an unquestionable tone. He wasn't seeking the opinions of the others, but was giving orders. When I become a god and become the ancestor, you will all be my living beings, and you will be honored for me. Zhou Tian waved his arms, and streams of golden light shot out from his body, his face filled with pride. A powerful aura spread out in all directions. In the center, the experts of Jianghu City held their breaths and immediately lowered their heads. Everyone around trembled slightly under this aura and bowed. Are all divine sons so arrogant? Becoming gods and ancestors? The king of Jianghu City? Wang Xian looked at Zhou Tian in the sky and shook his head in amusement. Young man, quickly lower your head. If you have the ability, you can do it too. On earth now, the strong are the most respected. If you are seen by the son of deity, he will kill you with a wave of his hand. Wang Xian's words were heard by the middle-aged man. He glanced at him and said immediately, He is not qualified to be the king of Jianghu City. As soon as the middle-aged man finished his sentence, Xiao Ran's voice came from the side. He is not qualified. Could it be that this kid is qualified? The middle-aged man sneered when he heard Xiao Ran's words. Master, I want to establish a force. Xiao Ran ignored the middle-aged man and looked at Wang Xian. His eyes were filled with ambition and arrogance. The path of cultivation was a struggle with the heavens. Someone dared to claim the title of king in Jianghu City. Xiao Ran felt that he didn't have the qualifications yet. Son of deity, what's the harm? Chapter 1886. 1886 Xiao Ran's Dragon Gate 3. So what if he was the son of deity? Xiao Ran's personality was similar to Wang Xian's. If no one provoked them, they would not take the initiative to provoke others. He had the idea of establishing a force, but this idea was just a fledgling and was not completely certain. Now, when he saw the Zhou Tian son of deity floating proudly in the sky in front of them, looking down at all of them and saying that he wanted to be the king, Xiao Ran's eyes turned cold. A cold look appeared in his eyes. In the eyes of Xiao Ran, he didn't have the qualifications to be the king of Jianghu City. His master had disbanded the Dragon Gate and didn't want to interfere in anything. However, this didn't mean that there were no tigers or monkeys in the mountains who could be the king. The king of Jianghu City wasn't something that anyone could do just because they wanted to. Oh. When Wang Xian heard Xiao Ran's words, he raised his eyebrows slightly. You want to establish a force? Sure. He smiled at Xiao Ran and said immediately. Master, I want to establish an academy. Not only can I establish my own force, but I can also nurture some strong people. Since the Dragon Gate has been disbanded, I will establish a Dragon Gate Academy. Xiao Ran said to him while his eyes flashed with a fiery glow. Up to you. Wang Xian shook his head nonchalantly. If you want to establish your own academy, I won't help you. You can handle some matters yourself. As he spoke, he looked at the son of deity of Zhou Tian who was floating in the air in front of him. There was no expression on his face. If Xiao Ran wanted to establish the Longmen Academy in Jianghu City, he had to get rid of this son of deity in front of him first. Xiao Ran, I support you. You can be the headmaster of the academy, and I can be the deputy headmaster. Ji Lingfei, who was at the side, heard their conversation. Her eyes flickered with interest as she immediately said, Big brother, I support you too. Lu Mingxin also clenched her fists at Xiao Ran, expressing her support for him. Behind them, the former disciples of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect also nodded in agreement. Good. Xiao Ran looked at them and nodded heavily. He raised his head and looked at Zhou Tian, who was floating in the sky with full of fighting spirit. In 10 days our Heaven Palm sect will hold the sect-establishing ceremony. At that time, all of you experts from Jianghu City will come to watch. At this moment, Zhou Tian's voice sounded again. He was still extremely powerful and ordered a group of experts above the 7th rank to attend the sect-establishing ceremony. Your Heaven Palm sect is not qualified to be the king of Jianghu City. The king of Jianghu City is not you either. Young man, you really... At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out, causing everyone around to be slightly stunned. The middle-aged man who spoke beside Wang Xian opened his mouth slightly and revealed a shocked expression. He stared at Xiao Ran with a face full of shock. His eyes were also wide open. Ha! Xiao Ran's sudden words caused everyone around to be slightly stunned. They quickly looked over with a face full of shock. There was actually someone who dared to openly fight against the son of deity of the Lingxiao treasured palace. This was an extremely powerful son of deity. Who is he? Who is this young man? He actually dared to fight against the 4th-ranked son of deity of the Lingxiao treasured palace? Everyone around was shocked when they saw Xiao Ran, who dared to fight against the divine son of the Lingxiao treasured palace. Zhou Tian's expression turned cold when he saw Xiao Ran. His ice-cold gaze locked onto Xiao Ran. If I remember correctly, you seem to be that Xiao Ran. He narrowed his eyes and a cold light flickered in them. If I'm not qualified to be the king of Jianghu City, then you trash are even less qualified. Zhou Tian smiled eerily. He had some impression of Xiao Ran in the past, but now he had completely forgotten about this small figure. Boom boom. At this moment, the 100+ experts of the Lingxiao treasured palace behind him all looked at Xiao Ran in unison, their auras locked onto him. I'll give you 3 seconds to get out of our sight. A middle-aged man stared at Xiao Ran and said emotionlessly, although the Lingxiao treasured palace forbade its disciples from killing each other, as long as no one died and the enforcers of the Lingxiao treasured palace, the heavenly soldiers and generals, didn't know about it, everything would be fine. The prohibition was only on the surface. That young man? At this moment at the front of the center the people of the Song family saw Xiao Ran and Wang Xian standing behind him. They were slightly stunned. That's the disciple of the Dragon King. Old Qin and Old Shui said in a low voice. From the beginning to the end, there was only one king in Jianghu City, and that was the Dragon King. As the disciple of the Dragon King, Xiao Ran has the right to say that. Old Song's eyes sparkled. He looked at Xiao Ran and said with a smile on his face. What's going on? What's going on in the Song family? The Dragon King? The disciple of the Dragon King? When Elder Song's voice rang out, everyone was slightly shocked. Some people were in a daze. The Dragon King. This name was the only king in Jianghu City back then. However, they did not expect that the young man was the Dragon King's disciple. And the Song family was actually speaking up for the Dragon King's disciple. A disciple inheriting the master's position is indeed not bad. Ji Lingfei slowly walked out and came to Xiao Ran's side, staring at Zhou Tian. That's right. In Jianghu City, who doesn't know about the Dragon King? Even if the Dragon King doesn't become king, only the Dragon King's disciple is qualified. The former disciples of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect walked out one by one, and more than 200 people walked behind Xiao Ran. What? There are so many people around the disciple of the Dragon King? Are they fighting for territory? At this moment, all the people in the surrounding river city looked at Xiao Ran and his group of experts in astonishment. The Song family openly supported the appearance of the disciple of the Dragon King. They swallowed their saliva in surprise and stared blankly at the side. Concubine Ji Lingfei. Zhou Tian was slightly stunned when he saw concubine Ji Lingfei's appearance, and then his face darkened. He slowly looked down with a murderous look on his face. Ji Lingfei, are you going to make an enemy out of our Heaven Palm sect? His eyes flickered as he stared at Ji Lingfei. So what? Ji Lingfei smiled faintly. Song family, are you going to rebel? Zhou Tian's gaze turned colder and colder when he heard Ji Lingfei's words, and he looked down at the Song family members. Your Heaven Palm sect is not the royal family. Why are you rebelling? And you are too powerful. Do you really treat us as your subjects? Besides, your strength is not enough to drive us. Elder Song said indifferently. As he spoke, he walked directly toward Xiao Ran's position. The members of the Song family immediately followed him. The members of the Shui and Qin families did not hesitate at all and followed him indifferently. This scene is so familiar. The Dragon King used to be accompanied by all the major families in Jianghu City. Now, the disciple of the Dragon King still has the support of all the major families in Jianghu City. Some of the elders around saw this scene and murmured in a daze. More than 10 years ago the Dragon King was the king of Jianghu City. More than 10 years later, his disciple wanted to succeed him. Chapter 1887. 1887 Xiao Ran's Dragon Gate 4. The wind rose and the clouds surged. Xiao Ran led a group of people and faced Zhou Tian's group from afar. The surrounding atmosphere began to freeze. Zhou Tian and the group of disciples from the soaring heavens treasured palace behind him revealed gloomy expressions. Especially when they saw the larger clans of Jianghu City standing directly behind Xiao Ran, their expressions were incomparably ugly. On ancient earth, if you stand in the wrong position your entire family will be executed. Do you know that? Zhou Tian stared coldly at the Song, Shui and Qin families. The killing intent in his tone was not concealed at all. Xiao Ran, are you sure you want to provoke my Heaven Palm sect? Don't think that with Ji Lingfei around, we won't dare to do anything to you. He swept a sinister glance at Xiao Ran and the others as he threatened. Haha Zhou Tian, since I dare to fight with you for River City, do you think that I'm afraid of you? Xiao Ran laughed loudly when he heard his threat. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, a blazing flame started to rise in the sky above him, enveloping the entire sky in flames. Boom. Sensing Xiao Ran's aura, Zhou Tian's pupils constricted slightly, and the aura on his body trembled as well. A streak of golden light rushed over from behind him and similarly covered another part of the sky. The powerful aura of the two enveloped the entire Jianghu city. First-level demigod? When did you advance to first-level demigod? Zhou Tian's gaze was fixed on Xiao Ran as he roared in a low voice. You don't need to know. Xiao Ran's body slowly floated into the sky, facing Zhou Tian and Xiao Ran from afar. Bang bang bang. Just you alone want to make an enemy out of our entire Heaven Palm sect. The auras of the middle-aged young men behind Zhou Tian also trembled as waves of profound void stage experts' auras were released. Haha, of course there are also some clans in our river city. Back then, even someone as powerful as the Dragon King, who had suppressed us for an entire lifetime, did not order us around like this. You want to order us around just because of a newly established sect. Elder Song's aura was also completely released. An aura that belonged to a peak stage profound void martial artist soared into the sky. At the same time, his granddaughter, Song Han's Huang, also erupted with the strength of a peak stage profound void martial artist. Behind him, Song Hanyu's strength wasn't weak either. What? How is this possible? The Song family actually concealed their strength. Elder Song and that girl from the Song family are actually so powerful. Oh my god, Song Hanyu isn't the strongest in the Song family. The Song family actually concealed their strength so deeply. Doesn't the other girl from the Song family have strength comparable to a chosen divine son? When the Song family's strength completely erupted, everyone in Jianghu City was shocked. They stared at the Song family in disbelief. This strength could be ranked in the top 5 on Earth before the disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace arrived. A small Jianghu city actually has such a powerful family. The expressions of the profound void martial experts behind Zhou Tian changed slightly, and a trace of solemnity appeared on their faces. Zhou Tian, Jianghu city belongs to us. Ji Lingfei raised her head slightly and said to Zhou Tian with a smile on her face. The strength that they had displayed now could already cause Zhou Tian to be fearful. It could even cause the entire Heaven Palm sect to be fearful. Even if it was a faction established by the disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace, it could be ranked among the top. Good. I really didn't expect that there would be such a strong person in such a small Jianghu city. Zhou Tian's expression was extremely gloomy when he saw the strength that Xiao Ran and the Song family had displayed. Jianghu City was only a small city. It was not in line with the development of the Heaven's Palm sect to provoke such a strong enemy for the sake of a small Jianghu city. This time I'll remember it, Xiao Ran. We have plenty of time in the future. Zhou Tian clenched his fists. Let's go. He growled with a sullen face and turned to fly into the distance. Fourth divine son of the god ascension list, don't be so anxious. I Xiao Ran still want to challenge you. Just as Zhou Tian turned around, Xiao Ran's voice sounded. Xiao Ran's body moved and flew several thousand meters into the sky, staring down at Zhou Tian from above. Come and fight. His face was full of fighting spirit as he roared. Ha ha ha, Xiao Ran, do you want to defeat me and become famous in one battle? I admit that it's not bad that your cultivation base has reached the first level of the demigod rank, but you're challenging me. Zhou Tian suddenly turned around, and numerous sharp swords floated around him. Under his feet, a huge golden sword that was 10 meters long and 3 meters wide appeared. The huge sword was emitting a dazzling sharpness. From afar, one could feel an incomparably powerful sharpness. Haha, fight. Xiao Ran looked at Zhou Tian turning around and laughed out loud as well. He raised both his hands and a flaming mountain peak appeared in the sky above him. The flaming mountain peak that was 20 to 30 kilometers tall appeared out of thin air. Everyone within a radius of a few hundred kilometers could see it clearly. Today, I will teach you a good lesson and let you know the strength of my Zhou Tian. When Zhou Tian saw the incomparably huge flaming mountain peak, he narrowed his eyes slightly. Slash. He let out a soft cry and the 10-meter-long sword beneath him charged forward. With a terrifying speed, it turned into a length of 10,000 meters. A golden light streaked across the sky. Fire Sky Peak. Xiao Ran raised the incomparably huge fire mountain peak with both hands, smashing it towards the golden long sword. At the same time he grabbed at the air and clusters of fire clouds appeared in the air in front of him. With a wave of his arm, they instantly covered the entire sky. Bang! The Fire Sky Peak collided with the sharp sword, and the entire Fire Sky Peak directly exploded. The 10,000-meter-long sharp sword also dissipated in the explosion. What a fast rate of flame release! Zhou Tian's eyes flashed with surprise when he saw the fire cloud attack. He swept a glance at the exploding fiery peak, and with a wave of his hand, a golden dart appeared in his hand. The dart was the size of a palm and it was emitting a terrifying light. 0-point edge. He waved his arm and the dart brought with it a bright light as it directly attacked the fire clouds. Buzz buzz buzz. The dart pierced through the fire clouds and continued to attack Xiao Ran. Control, fire meteorite. Seeing the dart attacking him, Xiao Ran's expression did not change at all. He waved his hands and the fire mountain that had exploded in the air earlier turned into meteorites. The flaming meteorites that had affected an area of dozens of kilometers swept across the sky. Damn it, what kind of control is this? He can actually wave an attack that has been scattered. Seeing the countless flaming meteorites heading toward him, his pupils constricted slightly, and his expression slowly became unsightly. This is a battle between demigods? Hiss, the Dragon King's disciple is so strong. He can actually fight against the son of deity. This is too terrifying. With such destructive power, it's too easy for a demigod to destroy an entire city. Below, everyone in Jianghu City was watching the battle in the sky with a look of shock on their faces. A battle between demigods was terrifying. Wang Xian stood below, holding the hands of the two girls as he watched indifferently. It had been more than 10 years. It was not bad for his disciple to inherit his position in Jianghu City. This was once his starting point. Hopefully, it was also Xiao Ran's starting point today. Chapter 1888. 1888 Xiao Ran's Dragon Gate 5. Boom, boom, boom. A terrifying explosion sounded in the sky above Jianghu City. Countless fire meteorites streaked across the sky, leaving a huge trail as they smashed towards Zhou Tian. At this moment, Zhou Tian's entire body was emitting an incomparably dazzling golden light. Every light could easily pierce through the fire meteorites. He was like a golden god of war shining in the sky, directly attacking Xiao Ran. Flame Tathagata. Xiao Ran's expression did not change as he looked at Zhou Tian who was rapidly attacking him. He slowly raised his hand. Boom. A towering figure appeared behind him. The shadow formed by flames was like the Tathagata Buddha in the myths and novels. The gigantic figure, which was at least 100,000 meters tall, slowly raised its palm and slapped towards Zhou Tian. Damn it, every attack is a large-scale attack. Does he have an endless supply of spiritual energy? Zhou Tian's face darkened when he saw the gigantic palm that almost covered the sky. Dharma Idol Ling Shao Flying Knife Slash. With a gloomy face, he roared and his body was instantly covered by a golden flying knife that was thousands of meters in size. He waved his arm, and the golden flying knives that surrounded him immediately turned into palm-sized blades that pierced towards the flaming palm. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Countless terrifying blades directly pierced through the palm and attacked Xiao Ran's body. Buzz. When Xiao Ran saw Zhou Tian using his Dharma Idol, his expression froze as he slowly waved his left palm. The flame Tathagata behind him once again extended his palm and swung it toward the countless flying knives. At the same time he withdrew his right palm and slowly extended it. Following this action, the flame Tathagata behind him shrunk in size. The shattered right palm gathered together and continued to attack Zhou Tian as Xiao Ran swung it. Two incomparably huge palms once again attacked Zhou Tian. However, this wasn't the end. He continued to wave his palms. 1 palm, 2 palms, 3 palms, 10 palms. 10 enormous flaming palms shot toward Zhou Tian one after another. How is this possible? How can a level 1 demigod be able to control flames like this? Zhou Tian's expression changed dramatically as he watched the terrifying palms coming toward him one after another. I can't take it head on. Zhou Tian's body moved and he hurriedly dodged to the side. Fire chains. Xiao Ran saw that Zhou Tian wanted to dodge and his right leg shook lightly. Wang. A fire cloud appeared under his feet and spread towards his surroundings. Walala. Following that, under everyone's shocked gazes, fire cloud chains extended out from the fire cloud. The chains directly headed toward Zhou Tian to seal him. Damn it, how can he be so strong? How can he hide for so long? Zhou Tian's expression darkened when he saw the chains that were more than 10 kilometers long heading toward him. A hint of panic appeared in his eyes. He was the divine son ranked 4th in the Lingxiao treasured palace. Now he had actually lost to the unknown Xiao Ran. With your strength, why don't you get on the God Ascension list? Why don't you become a divine son? Zhou Tian shouted at Xiao Ran with an embarrassed expression. Getting on the God Ascension list and becoming a divine son had enormous benefits. Status was secondary. Resources could be obtained in many ways. So what if I'm not a divine son and won't get on the God Ascension list if I defeat you? Xiao Ran waved his arm and countless chains covered the sky. In the sky, those huge palms also covered him. The sky and the earth were completely sealed. Xiao Ran's control over the flames is terrifying. He can control the flames so well without releasing his Dharma idol. What kind of physique does he have? He's so abnormal. Everyone in River City watched the battle from below, their faces filled with shock. Jilin Fei looked at Xiao Ran's attacks one after another, and she was also slightly shocked. After Xiao Ran consumed the fruit given by his master, he became much stronger, especially his control over the flames. This was completely crushing existences of the same level. Unfortunately, she did not know much about the physique. She did not know that Xiao Ran's current physique was the strongest physique with the fire attribute in the universe, the origin of fire. So strong. That Dragon King's disciple is so powerful. He can actually suppress the Divine Sun and fight all the time. As expected of the Dragon King's disciple. The people from Jianghu City below were also looking at the battle in the sky in shock. Walala. The loud sound of the flame chains in the sky spread across the entire Jianghu City sky, completely sealing Zhou Tian. Ling Xiao flying knife chop, chop for me. Zhou Tian's expression was extremely ugly. With a furious roar, he transformed into a flying knife and slashed towards the chains. Crack, crack, crack. The chains broke one by one, but his speed was still a little slower. In the sky, a palm gradually descended. More than 10 incomparably huge palms covered Zhou Tian in succession. Pooh! He spat out fresh blood and a cloth strip appeared on his body. On the strip of cloth, the 3 words, God Ascension roll flickered with a luster, and helped him block more than half of the attacks. However, even so, as the palms fell one by one, Zhou Tian still spat out blood, and his body fell downwards. Zhou Tian, you've lost. Xiao Ran floated in the air, staring at him without the slightest fluctuation in his expression as he said condescendingly. I lost. When Zhou Tian heard this, he raised his head and looked up at Xiao Ran. His expression changed drastically. His extremely miserable body was filled with black burn marks. Let's go. Zhou Tian glared fiercely at Xiao Ran and growled in a low voice. Then he turned around and left. Go. The rest of the disciples of the Ling Xiao treasured palace who followed Zhou Tian looked at Xiao Ran in surprise. Then they turned around and left. Xiao Ran looked at their departing figures and a smile appeared on his face. His body moved and he arrived in the sky in front of the Song clan group. He looked down at everyone in Jianghu City. He took a deep breath as a trace of fighting spirit flickered in his eyes. Today I, Xiao Ran, will establish the Dragon Gate Academy in Jianghu City. Those with talent can enter the academy to cultivate. In the future, the Dragon Gate Academy will guard Jianghu City's safety and enter the Dragon Gate Academy as a student of the Dragon Gate Academy. I will light the divine fire together with you. Xiao Ran's voice resounded in everyone's mind. I will discuss the specific matters of the Dragon Gate Academy with the various families in Jianghu City. He spoke slowly without much arrogance. However, when he defeated the 4th son of deity from the Ling Xiao palace, everyone knew that he had the ability to do so. Even if he didn't say that he was the king of Jianghu City, in everyone's heart, they had already tacitly acknowledged him. Dragon Gate Academy? Below, Wang Xian listened to the forces established by Xiao Ran. He mumbled and smiled faintly. Chapter 1889. 1889 Demonic Invasion. The Dragon King's disciple has returned. Dragon Gate Academy? It really reminds people of the Dragon King from more than 10 years ago. Grandpa, who is the Dragon King? Is the Dragon King powerful? Of course he's powerful. At that time, the Dragon King was invincible and suppressed the world for a lifetime. At that time, the Dragon King came from our river city. Unfortunately, he disappeared more than 10 years ago. Do you think that if the Dragon King was still alive, would he still be invincible? Would he even be able to suppress the Ling Xiao treasure palace? How is that possible? Although the Dragon King was very strong at that time, he could not compare to the Lingxiao treasure palace. After all, the gods in the Lingxiao treasure palace had lived for tens of thousands of years. How long did the Dragon King live? After Xiao Ran announced the establishment of the Dragon Gate Academy, everyone who had gathered in the city center dispersed. However, Xiao Ran's appearance reminded the entire Jianghu city of the Dragon King in the past. That was the existence that was invincible at the beginning of the recovery of spiritual energy. That was the myth of that era. In that era, as long as one could have a relationship with the Dragon King, one would be above others and be respected. Now, the disciple of the Dragon King had established the Dragon Gate Academy in Jianghu City and gained the support of everyone in Jianghu City. In the past, the Dragon King was the glory of Jianghu City. Now that the disciple of the Dragon King was the king of Jianghu City, he could be considered to have inherited the position of master. Xiao Ran also had the ability to inherit the position. Walking from the center of the city to the villa by the sea, Wang Xian heard the discussions around him and revealed a faint smile on his face. It had been more than 10 years. It seemed that everyone in Jianghu City had not forgotten about him. "Daddy, is the Dragon King that they are talking about you?" Kaya raised her head and asked Wang Xian. "Yes. How is it? Isn't Daddy cool?" Wang Xian smiled at Kaya and patted her head. "HMH bad Daddy. You said that you would bring us to play, but now you're bringing us to watch others fight. It's boring." Huar said unhappily at the side. "It's getting dark. It's time to go back to sleep." Wang Xian carried Kaya and squatted down to signal to Huar. "Hee Daddy, raise it high." Wang Xian raised Kaya up. The flower on his back also wanted to sit on his neck. "Huar, look at how big you are. Do you still want to be Daddy's neck?" Wang Xian said speechlessly. Yes. I'm not old at all. Giddy up." Huar grabbed Wang Xian's hair and said cheerfully. Wang Xian smiled and led them to the villa. He did not return with Xiao Ran and the rest. Xiao Ran was discussing the establishment of the Longmen Academy with the former disciples of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect and the Song family. As they walked, the people of Jianghu City around them were discussing. The people around them didn't expect that the Dragon King they were talking about was right beside them. After they returned to the villa and played with the two little girls for a while, they coaxed them to sleep. Wang Xian was also sitting in front of the computer and playing games out of boredom. Not to mention, after he had been away for more than 10 years, there were some fun games that allowed him to pass the time. At this moment, Xiao Ran's defeat of the fourth divine son caused a huge sensation on the internet. In these few days, several million disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace came to the land and occupied a part of the land. Every divine son, every expert on the God Ascension list, united or single-handedly occupied a part of the land and established their own strength. When all the heroes came together, even those heaven's favorites could only join hands to contend with the divine sons. Several heaven's favorites had fallen in the past few days. Today Xiao Ran, a disciple of the Lingxiao treasured palace, defeated the fourth divine son and arrived at the Longmen Academy. Whether on earth or for the disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace, it was an extremely sensational matter. Everyone was clear about the strength of the fourth divine son, Zhou Tian. Being able to defeat Zhou Tian represented Xiao Ran's strength. Among the younger generation of disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace, he could be ranked in the top 5. This was definitely a strength that could not be underestimated. The Dragon Gate Academy had also entered everyone's sights. Especially when the disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace knew that Ji Lingfei was also in this faction. Time passed slowly. Xiao Ran was busy with the establishment of the Dragon Gate Academy all day long. The Qin family, Shui family and Song family had built villas around Wang Xian. The disciples of Dragon Gate had also moved over. 10 days later, the construction of Dragon Gate Academy was basically completed. Dragon Gate Academy had been disbanded. The group of Draconids who were fine had joined Dragon Gate Academy. They joined the academy to be teachers. There were more than 40 Draconids in total. Each of them had the strength of a peak-stage insightful emptiness realm expert. It was a huge luxury to be a teacher. Xiao Ran was happy for a long time that the Draconids could enter the academy and become teachers. With a group of Draconids, the Dragon Gate Academy would definitely rise. The establishment of the Dragon Gate Academy was basically completed. It would be able to recruit the first batch of students of the Dragon Gate Academy soon. The Dragon Gate Academy had also become a force that everyone in Jianghu City wanted to join. When is the academy preparing to officially teach? On the evening of the 13th day, Wang Xian sat at the top of the villa with a smile on his face. Beside him, two little girls were playing by the side. Xiao Ran, Ji Lingfei, Lu Mingxin, and the Song family were sitting at the front. Master, we are preparing to recruit the first batch of students in 2 days. Apart from Dragon Gate Academy, we have also established an Enlightenment Academy. The Earth is undergoing a drastic change. If we can seize this opportunity, we will be able to nurture many strong people. If the opportunity is good, we will be able to become gods. Xiao Ran said while pondering. Yes. The Earth's change will take at least another 10 to 20 years to end. This era is an opportunity for everyone. Wang Xian nodded his head. Currently he was extremely carefree. The first change on Earth had already passed. He didn't catch up with the time and didn't reap any benefits. He only managed to get 2 young masters who served them every day. The second mutation had already begun, but he was waiting for it now. Master, recently, someone went to the Dark Ancient Lands to investigate. They discovered that there were a large number of dark demonic beasts in the Dark Ancient Lands. The demons and monsters that appeared in the city a few days ago were just a small part of the population. According to the internet, there will be a type of demonic nucleus after killing those dark demonic beasts. The effect of using it to cultivate is better than using spirit stones. Xiao Ran said to Wang Xian from the side. Oh, demon nucleus? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. There weren't any demon nuclei among the demonic beasts on the supernatural continent. Huh? At this moment, Wang Xian moved slightly. He stood up slowly and looked towards the direction of the ocean. What's wrong, master? Xiao Ran and the rest were slightly stunned when they saw Wang Xian's actions. They immediately asked. There are a large number of demonic beasts flying out from the dark ancient land a few hundred kilometers away. Wang Xian said with a twinkle in his eyes. Get people to prepare. The disaster is coming. Chapter 1890. 1890 on the projection of the 9 dragons in the Divine Mountain 1890. What? A disaster? Xiao Ran stood up abruptly when he heard Wang Xian's words. His eyes were filled with shock. He looked at the vast ocean in front of him and his expression changed slightly. According to the historical records, there is an ancient and evil force in the starry sky where Earth is located. They summoned a group of evil creatures through a formation and caused a war in the entire starfield. The entire starfield erupted into a terrifying battle. The former Earth was torn into pieces, and thousands of gods were killed. The entire starfield was reduced to ruins, and only a few people managed to escape. These dark evil creatures should be the evil creatures that were left behind. Ji Lingfei's face was solemn, and the crystal between her eyebrows was shining. Ao Xingmu, you stay here and protect Hua and Kair. Ao Jin, let's go and take a look. Wang Xian didn't say anything else. His body shook and he disappeared instantly. Xiao Ran, let's inform the entire Jianghu city immediately. Even if there are thousands of demonic beasts entering the city, it's not something that ordinary people can withstand. Ji Lingfei immediately said to Xiao Ran. Yes. Xiao Ran's expression changed slightly, and he immediately nodded. Demons have invaded. Everyone in Jianghu City be careful. All members of Dragon Gate Academy, immediately head to the seaside to defend. Xiao Ran floated in the sky, and his voice resounded throughout the entire Jianghu City. What? What happened? It's Principal Zhao's voice. Demons have invaded? Is there a demon that wants to enter our Jianghu City? At this moment, everyone in Jianghu City had a slight change in expression. The demonic invasion of the city was seen by everyone on the internet. Although there was no demonic invasion of Jianghu City, no one was sure if it would happen. With the protection of the experts from Dragon Gate Academy, there shouldn't be any problem. It shouldn't be. Some people were praying in fear. Roar, roar, roar. When Wang Xian appeared in the sky above the dark ancient land in the ocean hundreds of kilometers away, he heard a series of crazy roars. The roars were filled with violence. It was definitely not something that an ordinary demonic beast could produce. One by one, demonic beasts flew out from the dark ancient land and crawled out. Their blood-red eyes stared at their surroundings. There were 7 to 8 types of demonic beasts. Some were like enlarged flies, with sharp weapons all over their bodies. Some were similar to the demon gods who attacked the soaring heavens treasured palace. Some were like insects looking extremely sticky and pitch black. Some had blood-red eyes all over their bodies, looking extremely horrifying. They came out of the dark ancient land, some went into the sea and some flew into the sky. There were at least tens of millions of them. Their strength ranged from the extraordinary realm to the demigod realm. Wang Xian stared at the ancient land of darkness. The dragon eyes of the yin-yang 5 elements could not see through it. However, he knew that there was at least a demon god that was comparable to 2 wisps of divine fire. I wonder what's inside. Wang Xian frowned slightly and scanned his surroundings. Under his senses, not only did the creatures from the dark ancient land rush out, the other creatures from the dark ancient land also rushed out. Among them, there were tens of millions of creatures from the dark ancient land rushing towards the Ling Shao treasured palace. Heavenly soldiers and generals, kill this bunch of demons. An extremely cold voice came from the sky above the Ling Shao treasured palace. A dense group of 100,000 heavenly soldiers and generals held long spears and halberds in their hands. They stood on the clouds and charged towards the demons. The Ling Shao treasured palace is under attack. If there are no heavenly soldiers and generals in other places to defend, they will be easily destroyed. Wang Xian frowned slightly. Attack. We must not let go of demons above the demigod level. Wang Xian said immediately. With a wave of his arm, the 5 elements millstone appeared beneath him and pressed downwards. Roar! 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 Seeing the sudden appearance of the extremely terrifying 5 elements millstone, the demonic beasts below let out furious roars. In an instant, millions of demonic beasts stared at Wang Xian. Regardless of whether they were in the transcendence, void interpretation or demigod level, they all attacked the 5 elements millstone. What kind of demonic beast is this? It's so violent. Wang Xian was slightly surprised. The 5 elements millstone was spinning slowly. Buzz. A destructive energy millstone was spinning slowly downwards. All the demonic beasts were crushed into flesh and blood under the energy millstone. In an instant, millions of demonic beasts were turned into blood. Wang Xian waved his arm and the phantom image of the Divine Shadow Kingdom appeared behind him. All the blood entered the Divine Shadow Kingdom. Splash! In the dragon transformation pool of the Dragon Palace, streams of dragon blood flowed into the dragon transformation pool from the heads of the 9 dragon pillars. Roar! Roar! All of a sudden, terrifying sounds rang out in the dark ancient land. The sound instantly covered the entire earth. In the dark ancient land, a few pairs of huge eyes appeared. These pairs of eyes were staring at Wang Xian, Ao Jian and Ao Qitian, godly state demonic beasts. Wang Xian looked over with a hint of seriousness in his eyes. The dragon eyes of the 5 elements of yin and yang were staring at them coldly. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian were also staring at them coldly. Wang Xian and the other 2 looked at the godly state demonic beasts in the dark ancient land quietly. Since they did not attack, Wang Xian did not dare to rush in recklessly. A few minutes later, those pairs of eyes disappeared. There was no movement in the ancient lands of darkness below. There were no traces of demonic beasts rushing over either. Buzz! 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 At this moment, there was a flash of dark light in the ancient lands of darkness below. Some demonic beasts were brought out in all directions by the light. They actually teleported demonic beasts out directly. Wang Xian frowned slightly. I can't stop him. Go back and guard Jianghu City. He had an idea and returned to the villa by the sea in Jianghu City. When he arrived, Xiao Ran led a group of Dragon Gate Academy's disciples to guard the place by the sea. The entire Jianghu City was brightly lit. If there are any monsters that are stronger than them, Ao Jian, make your move. Wang Xian stood on the villa. His eyes were sparkling as he looked at a few locations and said to Ao Jian, "It's the Dragon King." Ao Jian nodded. That terrifying howl came from the front. Everyone be careful. There are a few black shadows flying over from the front. Get ready. Around the coastal area, Xiao Ran led a group of experts from the Dragon Gate Academy to stare at the vast ocean in front of them and roared loudly. Just now, Wang Xian had only killed a few million demonic beasts. There were also quite a number of fish that escaped the net as well as the demonic beasts that were teleported out from the dark ancient land. If Jianghu City didn't have any experts guarding it when these demonic beasts attacked, it would definitely be destroyed. At the same time, there were no other experts like Wang Xian in the other locations of the dark ancient land to suppress them. Countless demonic beasts were densely packed and attacked the human gathering. Just when everyone was shocked and even the disciples of the Ling Shao treasured palace were filled with despair, something happened. The divine mountains began to shine. 9 shadows of 9 dragons appeared in 9 places in the east. Chapter 1891. 1891. In the 1891 Divine Mountains 9 Dragons Apparition. The earth tonight was sleepless. When roars came from the dark ancient lands, when tens of millions of demons from the dark ancient lands attacked the soaring heavens treasured palace. In every city, everyone came to the open space in shock to take a look. Especially those cities that were closer to the dark ancient lands. In less than half an hour after the roars sounded, there were experts floating in the sky who saw the demons running towards them. Those incomparably sinister dark Wuxia's blood-red eyes were filled with a tyrannical aura. At this moment, everyone was incomparably shocked. Roar, roar, roar. What a terrifying demonic beast, what a violent aura. It's over, it's over. No, no, how could there be so many Wuxia? How could it be? If not for the gods of the Ling Shao treasured palace taking action, all of us would have been devoured by the demonic beasts. Terrified voices rang out one after another, and everyone's faces were filled with shock. Some disciples of the Ling Shao treasured palace were also trembling violently in their hearts. Buzz. When the demons were wreaking havoc on the ground, more than 10 ancient mountains in the east bloomed with divine light. Mount Tai, Mount Huang, Amei, Mount Lu, Mount Everest, Mount Changbai, Mount Hua, Wui, Mount Heng, Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, and many other divine mountains bloomed with a dazzling light. The light covered a radius of several thousand kilometers. Roar. 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 Under the cover of the divine light, the demonic beasts immediately revealed expressions of fear and panic. Their berserk faces revealed expressions of fear, and their bodies trembled slightly. Their strength was completely suppressed. What's going on? Everyone looked at the divine light that was emitted by the divine mountains, and their faces revealed expressions of shock and excitement. The divine light could weaken and even suppress the demonic beasts. I know. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, many gods and even the eternal God Lord suppressed these demonic beasts. The demonic beasts died, the gods died, and some demonic beasts revived. Some of the things left behind by the gods and the blood of the gods can still suppress the ordinary demonic beasts. The eyes of some disciples of the soaring heavens palace were shining. The people in the cities looked at the divine light on the divine mountain and felt that they had survived a disaster. I wonder how long this divine light can last. Some people thought to themselves. Roar, roar. At this moment, dragon roars resounded in the world. At the edge of the 8 cities, at the bottom of the sea where the Spirit Sea Palace used to be, a shadow suddenly appeared. It had a head like a camel, horns like a deer, eyes like a rabbit, ears like a cow, a neck like a snake, a belly like a clam, scales like a carp, claws like an eagle, and palms like a tiger. The illusory figure was formed from energy, but it had the eye of a real dragon. This was the divine dragon. The universe divine dragon. The divine dragon appeared out of thin air. It was over 10,000 meters long, and it looked like a diamond in the night sky. The 9 divine dragons rose into the sky and let out a dragon roar in unison, shocking the entire world. Roar, roar. The 9 divine dragons hovered in the air, looking down at this piece of land, guarding the entire land. Buzz. At the same time, the 9 divine dragons released an incomparably terrifying dragon might. Roar, roar, roar. Below, all the demonic beasts around this piece of land lay on the ground in pain, blood slowly oozing out from their bodies. The blood flowed into the ground at a terrifying speed. This is? Oh my God, this is a divine dragon, the legendary divine dragon. At this moment, the entire world was shocked. Everyone stared blankly at the divine dragon that had suddenly appeared. Their faces were filled with shock. A divine dragon had actually appeared. How is this possible? A divine dragon has actually condensed in the dragon vein below. At the same time, in the sky above the soaring heavens treasured palace, when the figures heard the 9 dragon roars, they immediately appeared in the sky. They floated in the sky and looked down at the divine dragon that was as powerful as hell. Their eyes were also filled with shock. The place where the dragon veins are located is filled with outstanding people and earth spirits. I've investigated the 9 dragon veins on Earth before. Although they aren't weaker than the other dragon veins in the boundless galaxy, it's absolutely impossible for them to condense. This is not just condensed. These divine dragons have souls. They actually have souls. In this dragon vein, there used to be the blood of the divine dragons, but it was only condensed to this extent. Didn't the divine dragon clan perish together with the insect clan billions of years ago? Now, billions of years have passed in the entire Dragon Tomb starfield, and it is still dead silent. Billions of years ago, the divine dragon clan was destroyed, but there are still some creatures with the divine dragon bloodline and some subdragons. The divine dragon condensed below should be a drop of the subdragon's blood that fell into the dragon vein and revived it. Only the soul doesn't have a physical body. Moreover, its current power hasn't reached the divine realm yet. However, this is definitely a supreme treasure. A few figures said with faces full of shock. After one of them finished speaking, his figure flashed and instantly disappeared in the sky above the Lingxiao treasured palace. The other figures also moved. In an instant they arrived above the divine dragons one by one. Their 5 fingers formed into claws and the divine dragons clawed at them. However, the moment he caught them, a few of the divine dragons coldly glanced at him and disappeared in an instant. Only the soul doesn't have a physical body. Even we can't find them if they enter the dragon vein. Damn it. A god looked at the disappearing divine dragons with an extremely pained expression. Divine dragons, they were the pinnacle existences in the universe. Even if it was a subdragon, to them, it was a precious treasure. Even if it was placed in the boundless starry sky, it would cause all the gods to fight for it. However, he also understood that even if it was such a weak divine dragon, if it didn't acknowledge them, they wouldn't be able to capture it. Unless an even stronger existence refined the entire planet. However, with Earth's current mutation, the 9 divine dragons might be able to condense a physical body in a few years. At that time they would roam the starry skies wanting to capture or even subdue them. That would be a fool's dream. Damn it, I really did not expect that Earth would have such a divine item. If anyone can obtain a dragon soul, forget about becoming an ancestor of the gods in the future. Even immortality might be possible. The gods of the Lingxiao treasured palace returned to the sky with extremely ugly expressions. The Earth's metamorphosis and the divine mountain blooming with divine light were all within their expectations. Only the appearance of the divine dragon surprised them. Unfortunately, we have already tried it ourselves just now. The faces of the gods of the Lingxiao treasured palace were filled with unwillingness. The divine mountain shone and suppressed Wuxia. The divine dragon rose into the sky and suppressed the evil spirits. In Jianghu City, on a villa near the sea, there was no divine radiance enveloping the surroundings of Jianghu City. There were no divine dragons rising into the sky either. One evil spirit after another continued to attack in this direction. Wang Xian stood in the sky above the villa and looked at the 9 divine dragons that were slowly disappearing in the sky. A faint smile appeared on his face. More than 10 years ago, even before the recovery of the spiritual energy, he had dripped 9 drops of the blood of the divine dragons into the dragon vein. The recovery of the spiritual energy had strengthened the dragon vein, and some of his dragon blood had also condensed into a dragon soul. When the divine dragon rose into the sky, he had felt it. It was him. Chapter 1892. 1892. Under the projection of the 9 dragons on the 1892 Divine Mountain. I didn't expect this. I really didn't expect that a drop of blood from the past would actually give birth to a dragon soul. Wang Xian stood at the top of the villa with a pleasantly surprised look on his face. The dragon vein on Earth back then was just a very small and ordinary dragon vein. His drop of divine dragon's blood was just a weak drop. However, when Wang Xian saw the divine dragon's phantom floating in the air, he felt that he had 9 more clones. This was a very strange feeling. The clones had a hint of intelligence, but he could sense the existence of the clones. He could control the clones. However, the 9 clones seemed to be restricted within a fixed range. They could not leave this range. 9 dragon souls. Their strength has already reached the peak of the demigod realm. What a great fortune. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled. The 9 dragon veins had recovered their spiritual energy. Under the influence of various opportunities, the dragon souls that were born had already reached the peak of the demigod realm. They were just one step away from reaching the godly state. He could keep these 9 dragon souls in his body. Similarly, they could also be his clones. This was a great opportunity. It was definitely a great opportunity. The divine mountain will shine, the 9 dragons will rise into the sky, and I will kill Wuxia. Regardless of whether it is the Divine Mountain, the land of dragon veins, or killing Wuxia, all of them can raise one's cultivation base rapidly. It seems that all of Earth's cultivation base will be able to increase tremendously in the future. Wang Xian looked at the location by the sea. Over there, Xiao Ran and the rest killed Wuxia one by one. In the body of the Wuxia that they killed, there was a shiny diamond-like demonic core. The demonic core contained a huge amount of energy. By absorbing the demonic beast, the cultivation of the cultivator would receive a huge boost. The tectonic plates of the continent are moving at an accelerated speed. At this moment, Wang Xian looked towards the west. The continents had started to gather and would form a continent. At this speed, I'm afraid there will only be one continent on Earth in a few hours. Wang Xian looked at the gigantic holy mountain of light that gradually appeared in his line of sight. It was the holy church in the west. Its influence was similar to that of the Ling Shao treasured palace. There were also pyramids that were dozens of times taller than before. There were a total of 6 pyramids like this. Some people guessed that there was a god in each of the pyramids. Similarly, it was also a major influence. Finally, there was the fiery palace of the god of fire. The faction of the palace of the god of fire was slightly weaker than the other 3. The weakest divine sea palace had already been destroyed by Wang Xian. Soon the entire earth will be on a piece of land. In that case, all the heavens' favorites in the world will start to compete. The disciples of the big factions will also start to compete. Wang Xian thought to himself. However, Wang Xian didn't take the so-called heavens' favorites to heart. What he was more concerned about was how many gods there were in the 4 major forces and how strong they were. At the same time, on some other continents, in the sky above the holy church, the palace of the god of fire, and the pyramids, numerous vast figures appeared in the sky. In front of them, a group of disciples knelt down. The 9 dragons rise into the sky. If anyone can obtain the dragon soul and form the true dragon body, they will become gods and ancestors in the future. When the continents become one, you will go and look for this opportunity. This is the biggest opportunity on this planet. The gods of the 3 forces stared at the dragon god figures with burning eyes. Earlier, 2 of the godly dragon silhouettes were very close to them and they had tried to catch them. However, the godly dragon was nowhere to be seen and they had completely missed. To obtain a dragon soul, one needed a great opportunity and it had nothing to do with strength. If a disciple could obtain a dragon soul, they would become the son of a true dragon and become a god in the future. He could even cross to a higher realm. Divine Dragon, Dragon Soul. When all the disciples heard the words of the gods, their eyes were filled with desire and fervor. Just now, when the gods made a move to capture the dragon soul, everyone saw it clearly. Unfortunately, none of the gods could succeed. If they could obtain a treasure that even the gods desired, it was almost 100%. This made all the disciples' hearts burn with passion. After the Earth's continent became one, they were ready to step onto it to seek opportunities. At the same time, the 9 dragons rose into the sky and the gods captured them. This scene was clearly seen by everyone. This made everyone on Earth extremely shocked. There was actually a divine dragon on Earth. Tonight, it was a sleepless night for the entire Earth. After Wuxia was suppressed by the Divine Mountain's divine light, some experts attacked Wuxia. After killing Wuxia, they obtained a demon core and increased their strength. The effect of a demon core was thousands of times more than a spirit stone. After this news was spread, the forces that the skyscraping treasured palace's experts had just established began to crazily attack Wuxia. In the past, the demigod-level Wuxia was suppressed at the profound void realm. Killing one of them was a huge profit. Soon, more and more experts joined the ranks of attacking Wuxia. The entire land was filled with the sounds of fighting and Wuxia's roars. In the second half of the night, tens of millions of Wuxia began to flee. They also realized that under the coverage of the divine light, they were no match for humans. Wuxia withdrew from the area covered by the divine light, withdrew from the area covered by the dragon vein, and became active in the ocean. Some humans chased after him into the ocean, but they soon learned their lesson. More than 30,000 Wuxia. Haha, more than 30,000 Yao cores. We've gained a lot. At this moment, an excited voice came from the seaside of Jianghu city when dawn was about to break. Although most of them are at the transcendent level, these Yao cores can improve us a lot. Moreover, the claws and scales of these demon corpses are very special. They can be used to forge weapons. Xiao Ran looked at the corpses around him and a smile appeared on his face. The group had fought for an entire night and had gained a lot. To the faction that they had just established, these resources had increased their foundation by a lot. Dean, a lot of big things have happened tonight. The continent has completely become one. The disciples of the Holy Church, the Fire God Palace, and the Pyramid faction have already appeared on our land. Last night, the evil demons invaded, the divine mountain showed its light, and the divine dragon rose into the sky. Some people said that whoever can get the dragon soul can become the ancestor of the gods. It's very lively on the internet now. A young man walked to Xiao Ran's side and said to him, "Really? Although the evil demons haven't appeared here for half an hour, we can't be careless. 1/3 of our people will stay here and guard. The rest of us will rest. We'll replace them in 8 hours." Xiao Ran slightly raised his eyebrows and said to the people around him, "Yes." Chapter 1893. 1893. Half a year after 1893. The 9 dragons rise into the sky. The 9 dragons come from the dragon veins and have already condensed the soul of the true dragon. According to the legends of the gods, whoever can get the dragon soul can become the ancestor of the gods. Yaoxia is active in the ocean beyond the divine light. He gained a lot by killing Yaoxia last night. The demon core can greatly improve a person's cultivation. According to the test, after absorbing 20 demon cores and comprehending the Abhijna or Dharma idol, one can immediately improve. The continent has become one. Disciples from the other 3 forces have entered. The Saint of the Saint Hall has led a group of experts to roam at the foot of the divine mountain of Mount Hua. 9 dragon souls, the greatest opportunity on earth. Whoever can obtain it will become the ancestor of the gods. At noon, Wang Xian sat in the living room. He flipped through his phone and looked at the messages on the internet. What happened last night was known as the beginning of the second mutation on Earth. Regardless of whether it was the invasion of the demonic beasts, the emergence of the divine mountain, or the ascension of the 9 dragons, all of them represented the beginning of an era. The disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace had just arrived. With the unification of the mainland, the already chaotic situation changed once again. The gods from the 4 major forces seemed to have tacitly agreed not to participate in the competition for the disciples below. It could be said that they did not care about the competition for the disciples below. When a divine kingdom appeared, they would personally go out and enter the divine kingdom to search for treasures. Currently, the 30 to 40 divine kingdoms that appeared on Earth had all been searched by the gods. The rest of them were just following behind and drinking soup. The second mutation began. The dark ancient land appeared and evil appeared. It was still difficult for them to obtain the only dragon soul that made them extremely hot. In the eyes of the gods, the most precious thing in the second mutation was the dragon soul. Of course, the godhead of the evil spirits in the divine realm was also a huge treasure. However, if they wanted to obtain it, they might die. I didn't expect that when I dripped the blood of the divine dragon into the dragon vein back then, it became the greatest opportunity for the second mutation on Earth. Wang Xian smiled faintly. He closed his eyes slightly and Wang Xian instantly sensed the location of the 9 dragon souls. The 9 dragon souls were hidden at 9 locations in the dragon vein, tens of thousands of meters underground. Even a god wouldn't be able to catch them underground. Even if they were caught, it would be useless. This was because these 9 dragon souls belonged to someone. Wang Xian allowed the 9 divine dragons to develop on their own. He did not bother with the forces established by Xiao Ran. Just like the gods of the 4 major forces, there were no treasures on Earth that could attract him to make a move. Now he just needed to hide behind and wait. After that, Wang Xian spent the entire day playing with the 2 little girls, drinking tea, playing games, and watching interesting things on the internet. It was very interesting. Xiao Ran's Longmen Academy had already recruited the first batch of disciples. Some of the dragon men who already had a family were acting as tutors and teaching the students. They were also able to receive resources. This made the dragon men very satisfied. As for people like Demon number 156 who were restless, they followed Xiao Ran and hunted demonic beasts in the ocean. This was because Wang Xian had killed millions of demonic beasts in an instant back then. As a result, the number of demonic beasts in the dark ancient land was much lower. This allowed them to reap a lot of benefits. Jianghu City, an area that was not covered by the divine radiance, became a good place to hunt demonic beasts instead. As time passed, more and more people entered Jianghu City to hunt demonic beasts. This also increased the number of people in Jianghu City, a small city. A few months later, something happened in Dragon Gate Academy that caused a huge commotion in the entire academy. More and more people entered River City. Dragon Gate Academy was a major force that was currently in the limelight. The founder of Dragon Gate Academy, Xiao Ran, defeated the fourth divine son, and his voice shook the entire continent. And the reason why Dragon Gate Academy was in a stir was because of the group of Draconids. Some people discovered that the teachers of Dragon Gate Academy were all experts at the peak of the insightful Void Realm. Peak of the insightful Void Realm was also in existence at the Divine Sun Realm among the disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. One had to know that the fifth Divine Sun who had died, as well as the Divine Suns behind the fifth Divine Sun, were all at the peak of the insightful Void Realm. When everyone learned that the dozen or so instructors of Longmen Academy were all at the peak of the insightful Void Realm, they shocked the entire world. Think about it. A peak of the insightful Void Realm expert was a teacher and he was teaching students. What kind of concept was this? This was equivalent to a former Tsinghua and Peking University professor coming to an elementary school to teach students. How could this not be shocking? After the news spread, Longmen Academy announced that it was recruiting students and disciples. In the past, parents would do anything to get their children to go to a good school. Now all the parents were doing the same. Countless people came to Jianghu City, wanting to send their children to Longmen Academy. There were also many strong people who joined Longmen Academy because of their fame. For a time, Longmen Academy was in the limelight. In just 2 short months, the number of students in Longmen Academy reached more than 5,000. About 30 Dragon Men and some insightful Void Realm experts from Dragon Gate Academy were teaching in the academy. A total of about 30 peak insightful Void Realm instructors shook the other factions once again. This caused the reputation of Dragon Gate Academy to rise once again. The existence of Dragon Gate Academy, coupled with the fact that Jianghu City was very close to a dark ancient land, allowing them to hunt demonic beasts, caused Jianghu City to rise. Half a year later, the entire area of Jianghu City had almost doubled. Half a year later, the various large factions began to stabilize, forming 20 factions of 1 sect, 2 clans, 3 courtyards, 4 mountains, 5 religions, 6 sects, and some unspecialized people. These 20 factions were all the factions on Earth. They included the factions established by the disciples of the Sacred Hall, the disciples of the Fire God Palace, and the disciples of the Pyramid. Of course, there were still some small forces below these 20 forces. These small forces could not be compared to these 20 forces. Other than these 20 forces, there were also the Prodigy Roll, Divine Sun Roll, and Divine Sun Roll. This roll was the ranking of everyone on the internet. In the past half a year, other than the rise and stability of the major forces, the entire Earth was also filled with wars. The war between humans and demons. Humans killed demons to obtain demon cores. Demons wanted to devour humans to increase their strength. On the battlefield of the ocean there were countless battles. Daddy, Daddy, come out and play with us. At noon, Wang Xian, who was at the top of the villa, heard the voices of the 2 girls below. You're already so big, play by yourself. Wang Xian opened his eyes and shouted towards the location below. No, bad daddy, play with us quickly. Bang. As soon as Wang Xian finished his sentence, the sound of flowers rang in his ears. Following that, he saw a body pouncing towards him and hugging his neck directly. Didn't I play with you guys this morning? You 2 little guys are really troublesome. Wang Xian looked at the 2 girls. In half a year's time, they looked like they were already 12 or 13 years old. They were 1.4 meters tall and had 2 ponytails. They were full of energy and were pure lawless. Guzi and the rest have gone to school. No one is playing with us. Daddy, I want to go to school too. Chapter 1894. 1894 True Dragon Son of Heaven. Going to school? Wang Xian was slightly stunned when he heard Huar's words. The corner of his mouth twitched when he saw the expectant expressions on the 2 girls' faces. You 2 little girls, your strength has already reached the 3rd level of the demigod realm. Why are you still going to school? Wang Xian looked at them speechlessly and said. Guzi said that there are many students in the school playing together. They can all go to school, so why can't we go? Ichimch will go too. Huar and Kair stood beside Wang Xian and shook his arm. Alright, let's go. I'll bring you guys to school. It's good that you guys go to school too, so you don't have to torture me at home. Also, those little guys aren't called Guzi. Wang Xian thought for a moment and said to them. Pitch bad daddy. They just want us to leave. They'll be called Guzi. Guzi sounds good. Huar pouted and raised her head. The dog they were referring to was a child from the Song family and the Draconid families. The two little girls directly called them dogs. Wait a minute, I'll give your brother Xiaoran a call. As Wang Xian spoke, he took out his phone and gave Xiaoran a call. What? Master, Huar and Kair want to go to school. Yes, are you in school? Arrange a class for them. Yes, master. I'll go to your villa now. No, let daddy send us there. While Wang Xian was talking to Xiaoran, Huar said directly from the side. I'll send them there. Wang Xian pinched Huar's cheeks and said to Xiaoran. Then I'll wait for you at the entrance of the academy. Let's go. I'll send you to the academy. Wang Xian stood up and held the hands of the two girls. It's time to go to school. The two girls walked out excitedly. Longmen Academy looked extremely majestic from afar. It was located at the center of Jianghu City. It was covered by a formation, revealing its mysteriousness and power. At the entrance of Longmen Academy, 200-meter-long divine dragons were coiled on the dragon pillars. There was a dragon pearl in the mouth of the divine dragons. The entrance of the entire Longmen Academy looked majestic. One of the 20 powers on earth, one of the 3 academies. Master. When Wang Xian brought the two little girls to the entrance, Xiaoran immediately came down to welcome them. Arrange a class for the two little girls and let them study. Wang Xian instructed Xiaoran. Yes, master. Leave Huar and Kair's matters to me. Xiaoran immediately said respectfully. Follow your brother Xiaoran. Wang Xian said to them. Go. Don't forget to pick us up after school, Dad. Kair shouted at him. Okay. Don't cause any trouble in school, got it? Wang Xian instructed. We're so cute. How could we cause trouble? Huar pouted and said to him. Okay. Wang Xian waved at them. Ha. Suddenly Wang Xian's body stiffened. He narrowed his eyes slightly. With a flash, he disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared, he was in the sky above the land of the 9 dragons. The so-called land of the 9 dragons was what people called the land where the 9 dragons rose into the sky. Below the peak of the Dragon Range mountain, a short and ugly young man was located 10,000 meters underground. At this moment he was holding an array disc in his hand. On the array disc there was a needle. The needle was in the shape of a divine dragon. The entire array board was extremely mystical. At a glance, it was obvious that it wasn't an ordinary object. Kiki Dragon-Seeking Array. I didn't expect the dragon-seeking array to be so useful. It wasn't in vain. I almost died over 100,000 years ago for this treasure. I didn't expect it to be of great use this time. As long as I find the dragon soul and occupy it, I'll be able to condense a divine dragon body. Not only will I be able to recover to my peak, I'll also be able to become even stronger. Who knows, I might even be able to reach above the eternal God Lord. Ah! Excited voices rang out from 10,000 meters underground. The short youth's eyes were filled with excitement and madness. If I can gather the 9 dragons, I can kill even those gods outside. At that time, all the opportunities on earth will be mine. Dragon-seeking array, guide me. Over there, you won't be able to escape from my hands. The young man looked at the dragon head's guidance on the formation plate. His eyes were filled with excitement. His body moved and he dashed forward. His body was unobstructed underground, just like a fish in the ocean. Dragon-seeking formation? An item of the godly state? Wang Xian looked at the young man below. His eyes revealed a hint of surprise. A fallen god with a treasure. No wonder he was able to find the location of the dragon soul. It seems that some gods can't be underestimated. He muttered while floating in the air. When he saw the young man coming to the front of the dragon soul, his eyes flashed with an inexplicable luster. Since you want the dragon soul, I'll give it to you. When Wang Xian heard the young man's words, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. A devilish expression appeared on his face. Crouching dragon formation, trap me? Ha, I've got it. I can't believe that I have such a great opportunity when I wake up. I'll draw the dragon soul into my body and cultivate the body of a divine dragon. In the future I'll become a divine dragon and soar across the world. Wild laughter came out of the earthen son's mouth. He stared at the trapped dragon soul in front of him and was extremely excited. The dragon soul was more than 10 meters in size, and its entire body was emitting a majestic aura. Trapped within the array, it twisted its body and struggled. Kiki, don't even think about escaping. The dragon ambush array is a treasure at the peak of the deity realm. It's easy to deal with a dragon soul that hasn't become a deity and doesn't have much intelligence. The earth descendant laughed as the spot on his chest slowly cracked open. His entire chest was like a black hole. Come in, enter my body. The dragon-seeking array in his hand glowed as the dragon soul directly flew towards his chest. Wang? Haha, I succeeded. I am the true dragon son of heaven. The youth laughed maniacally once again. His eyes lit up as he looked at his hands. A few minutes later, he sensed the dragon soul in his body and smiled. His body moved and he flew into the distance. The moment he flew out of the ground, he couldn't help but raise his head. Roar! Roar! A dragon roar resounded through heaven and earth. At this moment, everyone in the land of the 9 dragons was slightly shocked. The familiar dragon's roar sounded once again. Haha! The earth descendant laughed maniacally as he flew into the distance. Boom! 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 When he flew out of the region of the dragon vein, the ground began to shake. Rumble! The area of the dragon vein began to collapse. The dragon soul was taken away and the dragon vein disappeared. It was taken away by a fallen god. The speed at which the dragon soul grows should be faster than here in the dragon vein. In order for the dragon soul to advance to the godly state, it needs to condense a body of flesh and blood. I hope this fellow can give me some strength. Wang Xian saw everything and smiled. Chapter 1895. 1895 and 1895, on the Little Devil of the Dragon Gate Academy. It was just Wang Xian's intention for the country bumpkin to obtain the dragon soul. With the strength of the dragon soul and the power of the dragon vein, it was undoubtedly wishful thinking for the country bumpkin, a mere powerhouse at the 3rd level of the demigod realm, to capture the dragon soul. Wang Xian saw that this fellow was the reincarnation of a god, so he did not stop him from keeping it in his body. However, if Wang Xian wanted to take the dragon soul over, as long as he had a thought, the body of that country bumpkin would explode and be devoured by the dragon soul. In fact, Wang Xian could even use the dragon soul to possess that fellow's body directly. By letting him keep the dragon soul in his body, it would allow him to increase the strength of the dragon soul rapidly. With a resurrected god to increase the strength of the dragon soul, it would be much faster than in the dragon vein. The most important reason why Wang Xian didn't take back all 9 dragon souls was that the resources required for the growth of the 9 dragon souls were too huge. The energy required for the upgrade of the 9 dragon souls was enough for Wang Xian to upgrade himself. It feels pretty good to leave my clone to someone else to nurture. However, ordinary heaven's favorites don't have so many resources to nurture it. It's not as fast as cultivating the dragon soul in the dragon vein. I hope that a few more fallen gods can obtain the dragon soul. Wang Xian thought with a smirk. This was equivalent to having his own child raised by others with great effort. In the end, it gave him a feeling of retirement. It was somewhat satisfying. The true dragon son of heaven. This title is not bad. Wang Xian looked in the direction where his grandson had left. He smiled and disappeared immediately. In this land of 9 dragons, a dragon's roar shook the heaven and earth. Following that, the ground began to collapse and the dragon vein disappeared. Everyone in the surrounding cities looked at the collapsed area with shocked expressions. What happened? Why did the dragon's vein collapse? What was that dragon's roar? Could it be that the dragon's soul was obtained by someone else? Some experts directly flew into the sky and looked down with changing expressions. Their eyes were filled with shock. Damn it, what's going on? What on earth is going on? The dragon soul was actually obtained by someone else. The sect master of the Earth Void sect, one of the 6 sects, was the sect established by the 8th divine son of the Lingxiao treasured palace. At this moment he was floating in the air above the dragon vein. He looked down at the collapsed dragon vein with an embarrassed expression. He had established the Earth Void sect here in order to search for the dragon soul. In the end, he hadn't expected that the dragon soul here would actually be obtained by someone else. Bastard. He clenched his fists tightly, his body trembling with anger. What happened here quickly spread throughout the world, and on the internet, everyone was talking about the dragon soul. Everyone was envious of who had obtained the dragon soul, and who would have the chance to become a god and become an ancestor. Boom, holy shit, the Lingxiao treasured palace sent a message. The true dragon son of heaven has entered the Lingxiao treasured palace, and the gods will help him ignite the divine fire and lift up the divine kingdom. Oh my god, the Lingxiao treasured palace has spoken. The sacred hall has also sent a message. If he enters the sacred hall, he will become a god. The fire god palace has also sent a message from the pyramid. If he joins their faction, they will create a throne for him. This is crazy. My god, the 4 factions are recruiting him together. If only I could obtain it. The internet was in an uproar. At this moment, everyone knew how terrifying the dragon soul was. After obtaining the dragon soul, the gods of the Lingxiao treasured palace would help you ignite the divine fire, help you lift up the divine kingdom, and the fire god palace would build a divine throne for you. This was simply insane. Countless people were in an uproar. Jia, I want you to help me ignite the divine kingdom and lift up the divine spark. I want you to help me build a divine throne? You are not worthy. What I want is for you to crawl under my feet, ha ha ha. On the top of a luxurious building on the mainland, a country bumpkin was leaning on a chair. The exposed woman beside him was leaning on his left and right. As he looked at the news on the television, the corner of his mouth curled up slightly. I didn't expect that a drop of blood that I dripped casually back then would actually make the entire world go crazy. When Wang Xian saw the various messages, a wicked smile appeared on his face. Daddy, daddy. At this moment, Wang Xian's phone rang. Just as he took out his phone, Huar's voice was heard from the other end. What's going on, Huar? Daddy has only been away from you for more than an hour and you missed Daddy already? Wang Xian took out his phone and asked the little girl in a good mood. This little girl had not been away from him for long since she was resurrected. She must have missed him. Daddy, I'm so angry. I'm so angry. One of my classmates actually called their older brothers and sisters to beat me up. He even said that he would call their parents to beat me up. Daddy, come quickly. Come quickly. When their parents come, beat them up. At this moment, the little guy's angry voice came from inside. Wang Xian's face turned black. A cold glint flashed across his eyes, but soon the glint disappeared. Huar, what's going on? Why did the others call your siblings and your parents to hit you? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and asked. The kids in our class saw that my sister and I were pretty and wanted to be friends with us. They pestered us after class and even pinched my face and bullied me. So, my sister and I will teach them a lesson. Wawa, put me down. I want to tell my brother and sister. I want to tell mom and dad. Just you wait. Huar's words were followed by the sound of crying. This made Wang Xian's face turn black. He recalled the scene of Shenzi, Gu Xingkong and the rest being beaten up. His face turned black as he imagined it in his mind. Huar, Kaier, you guys have grown up. You need to solve your own problems. Remember, don't break them. Dad is busy. Wang Xian said immediately and hung up the phone. It's only been an hour since I started school. What a little troublemaker. This. The corner of his mouth twitched. Bad daddy, bad daddy. At this moment, in a cultivation room in Longmen Academy, Huar saw the phone being hung up. She pouted and shouted. Quickly put Xingwen down. I'll tell you two little devils. We've already told brother and sister. We've also told Xingwen's father that Xingwen's father is a disciple of Longmen Academy. That's right. Your father has ignored you. You're finished. Quickly let Xingwen go. In the cultivation room, dozens of boys and girls around the age of 12 or 13 looked at the center of the room. A few youths shouted at Hua Kaier. They shouted, but their faces were filled with fear. You bunch of cowards. You still call yourselves parents? What a bunch of brats. Huar disdainfully glanced at the few youths around her and waved the whip in her hand. Pa. Ah. In the middle of the cultivation room, a youth was hung upside down by Kaier. Huar's whip struck down and the youth cried out in pain. You said that you can't tell the teacher, but you didn't say that you can't call the parents. Those few youths said with flushed faces. Chapter 1896. 1896 Among the imps of Longmen Academy in 1896. You bunch of cowards. Now, you bunch of people should properly apologize to us. In the future, if you see us obediently, my elder sister and I will let you off. In the cultivation room of the lower grade of Longmen Academy, Huar and Kair were clutching their waists. Their small faces were glaring angrily at everyone around them as they softly shouted. You put me down, you quickly put me down, sob 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 sob. In the middle, the young man who was hanging upside down in the air was crying while crying. At this moment, his back and buttocks were covered in blood. Although he was not seriously injured, he looked very miserable. Don't put me down, now you know your mistake, right? Hua Er pouted her mouth and stared at the young man who was hanging upside down, asking loudly. My mistake, I know my mistake, I won't dare to do it again in the future. Sob 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 sob, quickly put me down. The youth shouted loudly, it was a miserable cry. Say loudly, Sister Huar, Sister Kair, I'm wrong. Pa. Huar swung the whip in her hand, it let out a crisp sound as she continued to shout loudly. In the surroundings, the entire class of youths and girls heard that crisp sound and could not help but shrink their heads, their faces filled with fear as they looked at the two little demons in the middle. Woo woo woo. Sister Huar, Sister Kair, I was wrong, I was wrong. The youth's entire body was in great pain as he cried and begged for mercy. That's more like it. Let me tell you, you bunch of cowards, if you dare to bully us in the future, just wait to be beaten. In the future, when you see us, respectfully call me sister, otherwise, Huar said as she pretended to be fierce as she swept her gaze around the surroundings and coldly snorted. Yes, yes, quickly put me down. The youth who was being hung hurriedly replied. Peng. Kair's arm moved and the pitiful youth directly fell to the ground. He forcefully endured the pain on his body and hurriedly got up. He retreated with some fear. Xingwen, Han Han, Starlight, what's going on? Why are you guys calling me big brother and big sister? At this moment, a voice came from the door of the cultivation room. Big sister, sob, sob sob, big sister. At this moment, when the beaten youth heard the voice coming from the door, he immediately burst into tears and ran outside. Ha! At the door of the cultivation room, 3 17 or 18-year-old boys and girls stood there. From the clothes on their bodies, it could be seen that they were senior students. When the three of them saw the youth running over while crying bitterly, they frowned slightly. The young girl in the middle hurriedly stretched out her hand to hug Xingwen, who was running over. What's wrong, Xingwen? What happened to your back? Who hit you? When the young girl hugged her younger brother and saw that the clothes on his back were torn and bloody, her face instantly revealed anger. Even teacher wouldn't dare to hit you like that. Who is it? The young girl's questioning voice sounded. When the few youths beside her looked over, their pupils constricted slightly. It was too tragic. These were completely the marks left behind by whipping their buttocks. Sister Liang Liang, it's them. It's them who beat up Xingwen. They even hit us a few times just now. Without waiting for the pained youths to speak, the few youths beside them hurriedly pointed at the flower picking in the middle of the room. Ichimpich, so what if we beat them up? Who asked them to provoke us with their hands and feet? They even called the older ones over. What cowards! Hua Er saw that they were pointing at her, raised her head and said disdainfully. Xingwen, did they beat you up? The young girl's expression turned cold as she asked her younger brother. Elder sister, it's them, it's them. The young man cried out in pain. You two vicious little fellows, how dare you injure my younger brother so badly? Come here immediately. The young girl's expression turned gloomy as she immediately shouted at Hua Kaiyar. In school, her younger brother had been beaten up. As her elder sister, she naturally had to help her younger brother vent his anger. Moreover, her younger brother had been beaten up so badly. You're the vicious one. Aren't they just some superficial injuries? I didn't even use any strength. Who asked him to provoke me and my older sister first? Serves him right. Hua heard the young girl say that she was vicious and glared angrily at the young girl. To hit so heavily at such a young age, if it's not vicious, then what is it? The two girls are quite cute. I didn't expect them to be so uneducated. How did your parents teach you? Immediately get your parents to come to school. I want to see what kind of parents can teach children like you. The two teenagers looked at Hua Kai and said coldly, Come here immediately. After the two teenagers finished speaking, the girl next to them shouted coldly again. HMPH, I let you guys beat up Xingwen just now. Now you're out of luck. Serves you right. It's your first day in class and you're still so arrogant. No wonder you called your father and your father ignored you. Beside them, a few youths gloated at Hua Erkai's misfortune. You guys don't have any manners. You didn't even ask why we beat him up and just taught us a lesson. You guys aren't good people either. Kair heard their scolding and her face revealed an angry expression. She waved her arm and a vine appeared in her hand. Little sister, let's teach them a good lesson. Kair stretched out her hand and held the vine as she said to Huar. All right, big sister. Huar's face also revealed a cold expression. They actually dared to say that they had no manners and that they were their father. Oh, little brat, I didn't expect you to still have some ability. The three of them looked at the rattan in Kair's hand, and their eyes flashed with surprise. However, they still did not put it in their eyes. They were senior students. Could it be that they were still not a match for the two little girls? Whoosh whoosh. Right at this moment they knew that they were wrong. The rattan in Kair's hand moved gently. The three of them did not see any traces of the rattan and immediately felt their legs tighten. Immediately after they felt their bodies being pulled up. Wong. They only felt their heads spin before they were directly hung upside down. What? The expressions of the three young men and women changed drastically. They had at least reached the transcendent level, yet they were actually instantly tied up. Huar, it's your turn. I'll let you say that we're vicious. Pa. I'll let you call us uneducated. Pa. I'll let you call us daddy. Pa. A whip appeared in Huar's hand and lashed out directly at the three people's buttocks and backs. Every time she spoke, she lashed out. Moreover, the strength of her lashes was obviously much greater than that of the youth from before. In an instant, the clothes on their bodies were torn apart. How is this possible? You two little fellows, you. The young girl who was hung upside down in the air felt the tremendous pain coming from her buttocks and back. She was completely dumbfounded as she shouted loudly. They had never thought that they would be instantly subdued. They didn't even have the chance to resist. This? Around them, a group of 11 or 12-year-old children saw this scene and slightly opened their mouths. 5 words appeared in their minds: how terrifying. These two new beauties were simply little devils. Chapter 1897. 1897, under the little devil of Dragon Gate Academy. Pa. Hurry up and say it, who has no manners. Pa. Hurry up and say it, who is vicious. In the cultivation room of the lower grade, Hua Mengmeng's voice sounded once again, accompanied by the clear sound of whips landing on their buttocks. The pain in his body caused the dazed youth to quickly wake up from the pain. You two quickly put us down. You two little fellows are courting death. Quickly put us down. Damn it, quickly put us down immediately. The two youths felt the pain on their butts and backs. The corners of their mouths twitched as they shouted loudly with flushed faces. HMPH. A few seniors still came to bully us. Shameless. However, you two grandmothers aren't so easy to bully. Today I'll beat you up. Pa. As Huar spoke, she lashed out at the three of them, one whip after another. Ah. Along with Huar's strength, the three of them let out blood-curdling screams. They closed their eyes, their faces filled with humiliation. The three of them had actually been humiliated by the two little girls, and they had even been whipped while hanging in the air. What image would they have in the lower grades in the future? If their classmates in the same grade knew about this, what face would they have left? But very quickly they did not have time to think about these questions because they felt a burning pain in their buttocks and back. Even their clothes were torn. Sob. The elder sister of the youth from before let out a choking sound. Her arms and legs were entangled and she couldn't move at all. Every lash that landed on her caused her to feel incomparable pain. After being continuously lashed more than 10 times, she couldn't help but shed tears. At this moment, the youth called Xingwen, who was standing at the side, was completely dumbfounded. His elder sister and senior brothers were actually beaten up by those two little devils. Moreover, it was exactly the same as when they were beating him up. They were directly hung up and beaten up. How was this possible? His elder sister was extremely powerful. Gulp. When the surrounding youths saw this scene, they couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. At this moment, their faces were filled with fear as they looked at the flower picking, as if they were looking at two evil devils. Now if you apologize to us, we can be merciful and let you go. Quickly admit your mistakes. Hua whipped dozens of times consecutively as she spoke to the 3 senior students who were hanging upside down. Let us go, let us down. When the 2 youths heard Hua's voice, their faces were filled with humiliation as they shouted in a low voice, asking them to beg for mercy for a 12 or 13-year-old little girl. How could they do it? You won't admit your mistakes without apologizing, right? Then I'll beat you until you apologize and admit your mistakes. As Hua spoke, the whip in her hand once again struck towards the 3 of them. Woo, stop it for me. The 3 of them were still youths after all. The immense pain caused them to shed tears uncontrollably. Stop it, stop hitting my sister. I've already told my father will beat you up. Seeing his sister being beaten up so badly, tears flowed out of Xingwen's eyes again as he shouted loudly. When your father comes, we'll beat your father up as well. Don't think that just because you called your brothers and sisters over, we won't be able to beat them up. As Hua spoke, she raised her head slightly and the whip in her hand fell once again. Stop. When Xingwen saw this scene, he couldn't help but feel pain. In the cultivation room, all the young men and women were trembling. This was too terrifying. If he were to go to school with these 2 imps in the future, wouldn't he die? At this moment, the entire cultivation room was completely under Hua's control. Teacher Zhao, I'll have to trouble you with this devilish brat of ours. If he needs to be beaten, then beat him up. This brat isn't honest. Just now, he actually cried and told me that someone was beating him up. I wonder which student he is in conflict with. At this moment, in Longmen Academy, 2 middle-aged men walked towards the cultivation room of the lower grade. A middle-aged man with slightly long hair smiled and said to the instructor of Longmen Academy at the side, "Hi, it's just a small matter. Although that child Xingwen is a little mischievous, his talent isn't bad. In the entire class, no one is stronger than him." The middle-aged instructor at the side smiled and shook his head. "I reckon that it's a conflict between children. You don't even need to come." Haha, if I'm not afraid that the little guy will beat someone up, then my parents will think that the children of our Longmen Academy are bullying people on purpose. The middle-aged man smiled. As the 2 spoke, they soon arrived at the side of the lower grade cultivation room. When the 2 just approached, they heard screams and cries coming from inside. What's going on? Their expressions changed slightly, and they immediately walked towards the cultivation room. When they saw the scene inside the cultivation room, they were instantly stunned. 2 students who were obviously seniors were hanging upside down in the air, and a little girl was beating them non-stop. A little guy at the side was wailing loudly. The middle-aged man with slightly long hair saw that the little guy who was crying was his son, right? And the one who was hanging in the air was his own daughter. The middle-aged man was completely stunned, and an angry expression instantly appeared on his face. However, as a disciple of the Dragon Gate Academy, he still suppressed the anger in his heart. But he had already decided in his heart that he would definitely ask clearly and make that girl who attacked him pay the price. My good boy. At this moment, he heard his senior brother's voice from the side, which made him slightly stunned. These 2 little princesses. 2 little princesses, what happened to you? The middle-aged instructor's mouth twitched. What did he see? The Dragon King's daughter, that very, very cute daughter, was actually whipping 3 senior students. These 2 little girls were so cute, how could they hang people upside down and beat them? These 2 little girls were personally sent over by the dean today, so he gave them some good advice. As a former disciple of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect, he naturally knew how to treat the Dragon King's daughter. However, when faced with these 2 extremely cute little princesses, he didn't take them to heart. What could have happened to the 2 little princesses when they were so cute? Even when his junior brother from the Dragon Gate Academy had come to look for him, he had not expected that they would be the Dragon King's 2 daughters. Because they were just too cute. However, when he saw this scene, his body trembled. Little princess, what happened to you? The middle-aged tutor hurriedly ran over and squatted beside Hua Kaier as he asked worriedly. Their mouths aren't clean. My sister and I will teach them a lesson. They actually dared to provoke us and even say that we don't have a tutor. Teacher, come and judge us. Hua pouted when she saw the teacher coming over. The middle-aged teacher wiped the sweat off his forehead. It definitely isn't the fault of the 2 little princesses. All the students in the cultivation room were stunned once again. Chapter 1898. 1898 Little Princess 1898. Teacher, they beat me up and now they're beating my sister and the others. In the cultivation room, all the students were stunned when they saw their teacher walk over to Huar and Kair, crouch down, and speak with a smile on his face. Teacher, isn't this wrong? You see, they even beat him up and this isn't wrong? Then what is wrong? The group of children were slightly stunned. Xingwen's face was even more sullen as he directly complained to the teacher. They were still young and did not notice that the teacher had taken extra care of Hua-er, Kai-er and the others. Hearing the teacher's words, they naturally felt very wronged. When the teacher heard his words, he looked at the few senior students hanging in the air. The corners of his mouth twitched, and then he looked at Xingwen, who had been beaten up. His butt was already swollen and there were bloody marks on his back. His face turned black. As expected of the Dragon King's daughter. She has such strength at such a young age. The teacher thought to himself. He ignored Xingwen and looked at Huaer Kair. He continued to ask with concern, "Two little princesses, put them down. I'll let them apologize to you. Tell the teacher if anyone bullies you in the school. Let the teacher teach them a lesson. Come. The teacher revealed a smile that he thought was the most amiable as he said to the two girls. Tell the teacher that calling their parents are cowards. They are a bunch of cowards, HMP. Teacher, they were the ones who bullied my sister and me first, so my sister and I taught them a good lesson. Our teacher, who was very gentle, did not hit them too hard. Kair explained to the teacher. Yes, they were too naughty. Teacher will definitely teach them a good lesson in the future. The teacher quickly said to them. Okay, teacher. As long as they don't bully us, we won't hit them. Kair nodded and said with a smile. This. When the three boys and girls who were hanging upside down saw the teacher coming over, they heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. However, they did not expect that the teacher would go and coax the two little girls as if he did not see them. This made them vomit blood. At the entrance, the long-haired middle-aged man who had followed the middle-aged teacher over also opened his mouth slightly. Looking at Teacher Zhao, who was squatting in front of the two little girls, he frowned slightly. Teacher, we don't want to be in the same class as these little brats. We want to go to the senior grade. These little brats are too childish. Hua-er pouted and glanced at the students around her as she said unhappily. All right. I'll immediately tell the principal and ask the principal. The middle-aged instructor immediately nodded with a bitter expression. These two little guys were not ordinary students. Not to mention that he had to squat down and coax them. Even if the principal came, he would coax these two little girls. And you go and tell Xiao Ranji that we are going to the senior grade. We are not going with the little brats. Huar immediately said from the side. Xiao Ranji? This. At the door, the long-haired middle-aged man heard their conversation and his eyes widened slightly. Calling the principal big brother? What kind of background did these two little girls have? No wonder Zhao Laosher was so respectful in front of these two little girls. It turned out that it had something to do with the principal. The long-haired middle-aged man's expression changed drastically. Father, look, they were the ones who beat me up. Sister and the others were even beaten up. At this moment, Xingwen saw that his teacher was ignoring him. He looked at his father at the door and shouted with a bitter face. Beat you up? If you were honest, why would others beat you up? Why would those two girls beat you up? Did you provoke those two little girls? Hurry up and apologize to those little girls. Also, why did you call your sister over when you kids were having a conflict? And you, why did you come here for your brother's matter? Why, are you still going to hit the lower grade students? I think I've spoiled you to the point of lawlessness. The middle-aged man's face darkened when he heard his son's words. He pointed at the middle-aged man's head and shouted sternly. When the young man heard his father's inspection, he was once again dumbfounded. This. When the young girl who was hung upside down heard her father's voice, tears could not stop flowing down her face. Now that she was hung upside down, she did not think of putting herself down. Instead, she berated her. Sob. The young girl could not help but burst into tears. Little princess, do you think? Should we put them down first? I'll call the principal right now. The middle-aged tutor heard the crying beside them and looked at the miserable state they were in. He squeezed out a smile and asked. Then let them go. Kair nodded and put the three of them down. I'll call the principal right now. Two little princesses, please wait a moment. The middle-aged tutor heaved a sigh of relief and immediately took out his phone to make a call. He was afraid that he would upset the two little princesses, so he immediately sent the message to Xiao Ran. Ha! At this moment, in the tallest tower in the center of the academy, Xiao Ran and Ji Lingfei were sitting in the office discussing something. When they saw the message sent by Teacher Song, they were slightly stunned, and a hint of bitterness appeared on their faces. What's wrong, Xiao Ran? Ji Lingfei saw Xiao Ran's expression and asked curiously. It's my master's two daughters. These two little princesses beat up a few people, and now they want to go to the senior class for lessons. These two little princesses are very mischievous, especially Huar. Even my master can't do anything to them. Xiao Ran said helplessly to Ji Lingfei. Oh, they came to Dragon Gate Academy to study? Ji Lingfei was slightly stunned. She was a little stunned, but soon after, her eyes sparkled. Your master's two children are not simple. They are not simple. I don't know how master nurtured them, but their strength is not weaker than mine. Now, the two little princesses want to go to the higher grades. So, I'll go over. Xiao Ran also braced himself and stood up. He had witnessed the mischievousness of the two little fellows in his master's villa. However, he did not expect that in just over an hour, these two little fellows had already beaten up a few students. With the strength of these two little girls, there is no one in the entire Longmen Academy who can teach them. Ji Lingfei looked at Xiao Ran's appearance and laughed in amusement. She could be considered to have some understanding of the two girls of the Dragon King, especially when the two little girls had hung Gu Xingkong up and whipped him. If that scene was released, it would definitely shock the entire world. Oh right. Suddenly, Ji Lingfei narrowed her eyes slightly and looked at Xiao Ran. A month later, don't we have a competition with the other big academies? Why don't we put the two little princesses in the elite class? Oh, the elite class? Let the flower-picking girls participate in the competition. This absolutely won't do. Xiao Ran was slightly stunned, but he quickly shook his head. I'm not asking them to participate in the competition. I'm asking them to go to the elite class. Think about it. These two little girls are very mischievous to begin with. The students of the elite class are no match for them. When they are bullied by these two little girls, it can completely stimulate their fighting spirit. Ji Lingfei's gaze flickered, and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. She was filled with wicked interest. Chapter 1899. 1899 will follow us. This? Xiao Ran was slightly stunned when he heard Ji Lingfei's words. His face revealed a look of shock and deep thought. The elite class was the most outstanding group of students in the first batch of students of Longmen Academy. There were only 20 people in the elite class, but there were 2 dragon men at the peak of the profound void stage teaching them. It could be said that they were the trump card of the entire Longmen Academy. 20 disciples, all of them were the most outstanding disciples that the Longmen Academy had recruited. Those below 30 years old, who were currently the strongest, had already reached the insightful emptiness realm under the nurturing of the Longmen Academy, and had even reached the second level of the insightful emptiness realm. Don't underestimate the second level of the insightful emptiness realm. Before the disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace had descended, the second level of the insightful emptiness realm could already be ranked among the best in a city. Even if the disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace had descended, the second level of the profound void tier could be considered a pretty good expert on Earth. Compared to other people on Earth, it was definitely at the top. The establishment of the elite class was to prepare for the upcoming academy competition. As the saying goes, the first in literature is the second in martial arts. Now that the various major factions had just been established, there were gradually beginning to be disputes. This was especially so among the several major academies. Now that the Earth had changed, no one knew which person would be able to rise up strongly. At this time, being able to recruit disciples to join their own forces, and having more outstanding disciples joining, would be of great benefit to the entire force in the future. If one wanted to become an ancestor, one had to compete for talents. In order to compete for talents, the several major academies had agreed to have a competition. It was purely a competition between disciples. It would let everyone in the world see which academy was the number one academy. Once one obtained the title of number one academy, it would be of great benefit to the future recruitment of disciples. Therefore, every academy placed great importance on this competition. It was the same for Longmen Academy. Letting Hua Er Kai Er join the elite class is not a bad choice. Xiao Ran hesitated for a moment before he slowly nodded. However, I need to seek the opinions of the two little princesses first. As he spoke, he quickened his pace and walked towards the lower grade class. The entire Longmen Academy was very large, and it was filled with an ancient and sacred aura. Brother Xiao Ran, sister Ji Lingfei. When they arrived, Huar Kaiyar, who was standing at the door of the training room, saw Xiao Ran and Ji Lingfei walking over and immediately shouted, "Huar Kaiyar, what's wrong? Don't you like this class?" Xiao Ran immediately walked over and asked them with a smile on his face. These two were little fellows who could behave atrociously in front of his master. Naturally, Xiao Ran could not afford to offend them. "We don't like them. They're all a bunch of brats. Brother Xiao Ran, we don't want to play with them," Kaiyar said unhappily. "Then do you want to go to the senior class? Or do you want to go home and play with Daddy?" Xiao Ran held their little hands and asked. "We don't want to play with the bad daddy. He even hung up on us when we called the bad daddy." Huaer said loudly in dissatisfaction. All right. Then why don't brother change your class and go to the best class in the academy?" The corner of Xiao Ran's mouth twitched and he immediately said, "All right, change your class. We want to go to the senior class." Huaer Kaiyar immediately nodded. "All right, I'll bring you there now, all right." Xiao Ran smiled and asked, "Anan?" The two of them immediately nodded. "Headmaster, take care." Zhao Laoshi heaved a sigh of relief and immediately said. Xiao Ran nodded and led Ji Lingfei and the two girls towards the center of Longmen Academy. "This, senior brother, this. What are the identities of those two children? How could our principal treat them?" At the side, the long-haired middle-aged man saw this scene and gulped in shock. "I don't dare to say the identities of these two little princesses, but junior brother, you must remember that even our principal has to coax these two little princesses." Teacher Zhao's eyes flickered with a luster. They couldn't reveal the Dragon King's matters in River City. Without an order, they didn't dare to say anything. After all, that was the Dragon King, the former Dragon King, and the current Dragon King. The long-haired middle-aged man's heart trembled. Even Principal Xiao had to coax them? In the current Earth, apart from the four gods' strength, Dragon Gate Academy could also be ranked among the top. Principal Xiao had even defeated the fourth divine son, and his reputation was flourishing. He actually had to coax these two girls. Just what kind of background did they have? Huar Kaiyar, when the time comes, don't bully the other students, understand? The cultivation room in the very center of Longmen Academy was also the gathering place for the entire academy's elite disciples. Those who could enter this place were all heroes and were respected by others. Their strength might be comparable to some disciples of the Lingxiao Treasure Hall, but to have such results at this age, many disciples of the Lingxiao Treasure Hall could not compare. This was talent for cultivation. Xiao Ran Ji Lingfei brought Huaer and Kaiyar to the door and said to them, "Don't worry, brother Xiao Ran, we are very obedient." The two little girls nodded obediently. Principal Xiao. At this moment, in the cultivation room, Devil 9 and Devil 10 saw them coming and immediately came over to greet them. "Ninth brother, 10th brother, Huar Kaiyar is coming to school. Master sent them over. The two little princesses want to come to the senior grade, so I'm thinking of sending them here." Xiao Ran said politely to Devil 9 and Devil 10. "Ha!" The two were slightly stunned. They looked at Huaer and Kaiyar and immediately bowed and shouted, "Little princess." Hee. Huaer and Kaiyar looked at them and smiled. They looked at the cultivation room. "Headmaster Xiao, then hand over the two little princesses to us." Devil 9 and 10 looked at each other. They saw the other party's trembling expression and said with a bitter smile, "Okay, I'll leave them to you." Xiao Ran nodded. Then, his eyes flickered as he looked at the two little princesses beside him. He transmitted his voice to them, "Ninth brother and 10th brother, I'll have to trouble you. You know the strength of the little princesses very well. Sending them here will be a good opportunity to motivate the other students. It's also possible that the two little princesses will return to Master after they get tired of playing with them for a few days." Emo Jio and Emo Shur nodded slightly and smiled bitterly at Xiao Ran. "Two little princesses, come in with us. I'll introduce you to our new classmates." Emo Jio and Emo Shur said to them and walked into the elite class. The entire elite class's cultivation room had an area of more than 10,000 square meters. It was equipped with all kinds of tools, and it was emitting powerful spiritual energy. 20 young men and women were cultivating inside. Some were sparring, some were practicing techniques, and some were sitting cross-legged on the side. Everyone gathered together. Today, 2 new students have come to our elite class. Let me introduce them to everyone. Emojio's voice resounded throughout the entire cultivation room. All the students looked over and stood in a row. 20 young men and women, each of them exuding a strong sense of confidence and pride. The students of the elite class of Longmen Academy, they had the capital to be proud. They looked at their teacher with slight astonishment, then looked at the 2 little girls beside their teacher who were filled with curiosity. What did this mean? Chapter 1900. 1900 is following us. In the cultivation room of the elite class of Longmen Academy, the atmosphere in the entire room was slightly strange. 20 elite students of Longmen Academy looked at the little girls beside Emojio and Emoshi's 2 instructors. It was not an exaggeration for them to call them little girls. This is Huar, this is Kair. In the future they will be students of our elite class. Everyone take care of each other. Emojio looked at the students whose faces were filled with bewilderment and smiled faintly as he introduced them. Hello everyone. Huar and Kair smiled as she shouted at all of them. This? When everyone in the cultivation room heard their teacher's words, their faces were filled with astonishment. These 2 little girls were really their classmates. How old were they? At most 12 or 13 years old. How could they possibly enter their elite class? The 20 elite students were filled with doubt. Could it be that they had connections? That wasn't right either. The strength of the Dragon Gate Academy was revered. Only the strongest could enter the elite class and receive the best resources. But, alright everyone, continue to cultivate. Emojio continued speaking to all the academies, his gaze looking at Huar Kaiyar. 2 little princesses, how is this place? Very good, this place is fun. The 2 little girls swept their gazes across the entire cultivation room and nodded their heads in satisfaction. This cultivation room was over 10 times the size of the other cultivation rooms, and there were all sorts of array formations. That's good, that's good. Emojio and Emoshir nodded their heads with a smile. They exchanged a glance and immediately returned to a single small room within the cultivation room. Following the 2 little princesses, they didn't know what to say, and they felt very awkward, so they simply hid. The 2 entered the separate cultivation room and kept an eye on the situation outside through the glass. Devil 9 and Devil 10 left, but the elite disciples in the cultivation room didn't disperse. They still stared at Huar Kair curiously. Huar Kair was also blinking her eyes at the group of people in front of her, sizing them up curiously. The 2 little sisters are really cute. How did you guys join the elite class of the academy? A girl from the elite class said to Huar Kaiyar with a smile. Thank you. Big sister is also very cute. That's how we joined. Kair said politely to the girl. I'm also very cute. When the slightly burly girl heard Kaiyar's words, the corner of her mouth twitched. Our elite class represents the face of Longmen Academy. In a month's time, we will have a competition with other academies. 2 little girls joining our elite class. If other academies find out about this, won't they think that our Longmen Academy is too childish? A thin young man crossed his arms and said indifferently. The teacher sent these 2 cute little sisters over. Naturally he has his own thoughts. It should be that these 2 little sisters are more talented. The burly girl who had just started speaking glanced at the thin young man before walking towards Huar Kair. Little sisters are so cute. In the future, if you follow Big Sister, no one will dare to bully you. Big Sister, you're too weak. In the future you can follow us. No one will dare to bully you. Huar tilted her head and smiled at the burly girl. Haha, interesting, interesting. Tigress, it's quite good for you to follow these 2 little girls. Let's see if you can learn how cute these 2 little girls are. In the middle, the youth holding a metal fan laughed loudly before turning around and walking towards the training ground. Maheshwan, just you wait. The burly woman's face revealed a fierce aura as she glared at him angrily. Maheshwan completely ignored her. He opened his fan and faced forward with a smile on his face. Big sister, if you follow us, we'll help you beat him up. Huaer glanced at the arrogant young man and said to the burly woman. Phew, little sister, you should follow your sister. You can't beat that scoundrel. The tall and sturdy woman took a deep breath and forced a smile on her face. She reached out her hand to touch Huaer's head. However, Hua dodged her just as she reached out. Hee, the two little girls are quite interesting. At this moment, Mei Heshuan, who had arrived at the reaction speed training ground, heard Hua's words and smiled faintly. Continue cultivating, continue cultivating. A young man said as he walked to the side, and the group dispersed. Little sister, let me introduce you to the training equipment in the surroundings. The burly woman lowered her head to look at Hua and said indifferently, all right, that one is quite fun. Hua pointed to the area where Mei Heshuan was and said loudly, that one is for training your reaction speed. Use the formation to adjust the speed of the hidden weapon to dodge. The burly woman said as she led them in that direction. And when he just went over, Mei Heshuan, who was dodging the hidden weapon, grunted and was hit by a flying knife. Sister, that guy is so stupid. Hua saw that he was hit by the hidden weapon and said to the burly woman beside him with a smile, shut up. Mei Heshuan, who was continuing to dodge the hidden weapon, heard the tender voice behind him and felt a wave of irritation in his heart. He immediately shouted softly, a fool is a fool. You still blame others. Hua heard his words and curled her lips as she said disdainfully, bang. Just as she finished speaking, another hidden weapon landed on Mei Heshuan's body. This caused his expression to instantly turn gloomy. Boss. His figure moved and left the training area. He stared at the tall and sturdy woman with a gloomy expression. Tigress, take these two little girls away. The tall and sturdy woman that he glared at angrily roared in a deep voice. Mei Heshuan, you better speak with more respect. If you can't do it yourself, how can you blame others? The tall and sturdy woman stared at him coldly and said in a deep voice, don't bother me. Mei Heshuan coldly glanced at them. Sister, this guy is so arrogant. Hit him. Hua looked at the young man and was very dissatisfied. She raised her fist at the burly woman beside her and said, when I can defeat him, sister will teach him a good lesson. The burly woman clenched her fist and said, if sister can't defeat him, then we won't follow you. You can follow us. Hua heard her words and said with a smile. She even slightly raised her head. All right. From now on, sister will follow you. The burly woman looked at Hua's appearance and shook her head in amusement. HMPH, all right. Since sister is following us, then we will teach this fellow who bullied you a lesson. As Hua spoke, she slightly raised her head and took a few steps forward. Hey, brat in front, come over and apologize to this elder sister. Otherwise we will beat you up. Under the surprised gaze of the burly woman, Hua raised her head and said to the youth. There was no other way. She was too short and could only raise her head. Damn it, Tigress, immediately bring these two little girls away. And you two little fellows, don't bother me. Otherwise I will let you know how red the flowers are. Mei and Xian stared at the three of them impatiently and coldly. Chapter 1901. 1901 Follow us. Mei and Xian's angry voices resounded throughout the entire cultivation room. When everyone heard their movements, they looked over and smiled faintly. Mei and Xian and He Xiaoxiao had already started a feud. The reason was that Mei and Xian had dumped one of He Xiaoxiao's best friends. In the end, He Xiaoxiao naturally did not give him a good look and targeted him everywhere. Mei Heshuan was naturally displeased with him as well. From time to time she would call him a tigress to mock him. The rest of the elite class were already used to their quarrels. Hang, little sister, let's go. We won't argue with the bad guys. He Xiaoxiao saw Mei Heshuan's cold expression. She snorted coldly and said to Hua Erkaya, sister doesn't have to worry. Since you've followed us, no one can bully you in Longmen Academy in the future. Let us know how red the flowers are. Let us let you know how red the flowers are. When Hua heard Mei Heshuan's words, anger appeared on her small face. Ever since Hua was born, she had never been afraid of anyone. She even dared to pee on her daddy's neck. What else was there to be afraid of? As Hua spoke, she waved her arm and a whip appeared in her hand. Oh, little sister has actually reached the Transcendence realm? He Xiaoxiao looked at the whip Hua condensed, and a hint of surprise appeared in her eyes. Go, you're not a match for the bad guys. However, she immediately pulled Hua's arm and said to her, Sister, since you've followed us, we'll naturally help you teach the bad guys a lesson. Hua raised her head and said to He Xiao with a serious expression, Little brat, don't challenge my patience. Mei Heshuan coldly looked at Huar and slightly lost his patience. If they weren't two children, he would have already taught them a lesson. Elder sister, hang her up, chimp. Huar pouted her small mouth and stared unhappily at Mei Heshuan. Yes. Kair nodded. The two little girls had long been unhappy with this fellow. Whoosh. Kair waved her hand and a vine appeared in front of her. Little brat, I think you're really asking for trouble. Mei Heshuan saw that Huar and Kair were actually preparing to attack him, and a trace of coldness appeared on his face. However, before he could finish speaking, that thorn directly coiled towards him. When he saw a green ray of light coming towards him, Mei Heshuan's expression changed slightly. So. Without waiting for him to react, his entire body was directly bound. His expression changed drastically, his body shook, and a powerful aura belonging to the first level of the profound void tier immediately erupted. Break for me! He roared in a low voice, wanting to struggle free of the vines on his body. Buzz! However, he soon sensed that the vines wrapped around his body did not move at all. Instead, he felt his body spinning and was immediately hung upside down. At this moment, Mei Heshuan's expression changed drastically. What was going on? How could this be? What happened? Ichimpich, this sister is someone we protect. She's one of us. If you dare to bully her, you'll be beaten up. At this moment he heard that familiar young voice. He looked over and looked at the young and cute little girl. Pa! He saw the little girl waving the whip in her hand. Very quickly he felt an intense pain on his butt. Following that, a gentle breeze entered. Instantly, his face turned red and his mind was still in a daze. How could he be subdued by two little girls in an instant? His expression changed slightly, and a sharp long sword immediately condensed in front of him. Wong! But at this moment, he felt his body tighten, and the long sword condensed in front of him immediately dissipated. Pa. Still not obedient. The loud sound of the whip lashing rang out once again. Mei Heshuan felt the pain coming from behind him, and his body trembled from the distance. You guys put me down. Mei Heshuan shouted at the two little girls in a trembling voice. My God, what is this situation? However, at this moment He Xiao, who was standing at the side, widened her eyes and looked at the scene in front of her in disbelief. Mei Heshuan was actually hung up and beaten by the two little girls? He actually did not have the slightest ability to resist. He possessed the strength of the first level of the profound void tier. If placed in the entire elite class, he could also be ranked in the top 5. Now, in front of the two 12 or 13-year-old girls, he did not even have the ability to retaliate. Holy shit, what's the situation? What's going on? In the cultivation room, the surrounding people were also slightly stunned when they saw Mei Heshuan being hung up upside down. They looked over in a daze. Ichimpich, you still dare to bully the people under our protection. Now we'll let you know why the flowers are so red. Huar held the whip in her hand and once again landed heavily on his body. Pa! His skin was torn and his flesh was torn. His clothes had completely turned into strips of cloth. Hearing this tender voice and the cruel sound of the whip, everyone landed on Huar and Kair's bodies in unison. Their eyes were wide open. How could those two little girls who had just joined their elite class be so strong? Mei Heshuan actually did not have the slightest bit of resistance. What was going on? Why are the flowers so red? Everyone looked at Mei Heshuan, who was hanging upside down. When they saw the position of his buttocks, the corners of their mouths twitched. Now it was why his buttocks were so red. Quickly put me down. Pa! Apologize to this sister or else HMPA. Mei Heshuan felt the gazes of the surrounding students and felt the pain and chill on his body. He hurriedly shouted again. However, the flower completely ignored him and said to him with a cold snort. I apologize, put me down. Mei Heshuan was about to cry. After struggling for a few times, he realized that the vines wrapped around his body were not moving at all. This made him completely flustered. Where did these two little demons come from? How could they be so strong? Can't I apologize if I don't put you down? Huar squatted down and just happened to meet the eyes of Mei Heshuan, who was hanging upside down. As she spoke, she waved the whip in her hand. Pa! Ah! A crisp sound and a miserable scream could be heard. Fear appeared in Mei Heshuan's eyes. He Xiao, I was wrong. Tell them to put me down. Hurry, hurry, I was wrong. He shouted at He Xiaoxiao with a face full of humiliation and powerlessness. This. He Xiaoxiao, who was at the side, reacted. The corner of her mouth twitched when she saw Mei Heshuan's buttocks blooming. Well, little sister, two little princesses, forget it. Let's put him down. She looked at the two little girls beside her and said with sparkling eyes. After all, they were classmates. She did not have too much enmity with Mei Heshuan. Elder sister, are you going to let him go just like that? Don't worry. In the future, with us protecting you, he won't dare to do anything. If he dares, we'll beat him every day. Hua looked up at He Xiaoxiao and said with a smile. That brilliant smile and cute dimples were extremely cute. In Mei Heshuan's eyes, he looked just like a demon. Chapter 1902. 1902, the eldest sister of Longmen Academy. Beat him every day. Mei Heshuan's body trembled and he felt like crying. Feeling the chill on his butt, he really wanted to find a hole to hide in. This was in front of 19 classmates. If they were to tell others, how would he be able to live in Longmen Academy? At the very least, he was one of the top 5 disciples of Longmen Academy. To be hung up and spanked by two little girls, wouldn't he lose face? Gulp. When the surrounding people heard the little girl's words, they gulped and looked at Mei Heshuan with sympathy. This, two little princesses, let him go. He Xiaoxiao looked at Mei Heshuan, who was crying, and smiled embarrassedly. She immediately said to Hua Kai and the others. All right. Kai nodded. With a wave of her arm, the vines wrapped around his body immediately disappeared. Bang! Mei Heshuan's body fell to the ground, his face still facing the ground. Hiss. His body moved slightly. Feeling the pain coming from his buttocks, he sucked in a breath of cold air. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he hurriedly used energy to cover his body. To prevent his body from being exposed. How is it, sister? It's not bad to follow us, right? Hee. Hua glanced at Mei Xian and said to He Xiao with a smile. Not bad, not bad. He Xiao looked at Hua and Kai in a daze. She opened her mouth wanting to say something, but in the end she did not ask. What kind of strength do they have? How can they easily subdue Mei Xian? Could it be that they relied on their own strength to join our elite class? My God, they are too young. At this moment, the cultivation room was completely silent. The other 10 or so people were all looking at Hua Kai, their eyes filled with shock. On the right, a young man who was sitting cross-legged on a cultivation mat looked at Hua Kai and frowned slightly. The young man's appearance was very ordinary, and he looked very ordinary. The two young ladies have extraordinary strength, can we exchange pointers? He slowly stood up and said to Hua and Kai with a calm expression. Oh, Yichen, is he going to exchange pointers with those two young ladies? Yichen actually challenged them? This looks like those two young ladies aren't simple. To be able to easily subdue Mei and Xian, they definitely aren't simple. However, I didn't think that Yichen would actually challenge them. Yichen is the strongest expert of our Dragon Gate Academy. When the young man's voice fell, everyone in the cultivation room looked towards him, their faces filled with shock. Sparring with us, you're too weak. Kai tilted her head and said to Yichen. You can be our little brother. Hua said with a laugh. Hua and Kai's words caused the other students in the cultivation room to be slightly stunned. When Yichen heard their words, he also slightly frowned. Whether we're opponents or not, won't we know after we give it a try? Yichen slowly walked to the center of the cultivation room and stared at Hua and Kai. You still don't believe us, sister? Let's let them see how powerful we are, Hua said to her sister. All right. Kai nodded, and with a wave of her arm, a branch appeared out of thin air and twined around Yichen. Yichen's face revealed a grave expression, and all the surrounding students also stared intently. Even Mei and Xian were staring at him. He wanted to see how he was trapped by that girl's twig just now. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. What? However, everyone only saw a shadow, and Yichen's shocked voice was heard. So fast. Everyone looked over at the same time and found that Yichen was actually trapped by the twig. Flames bloomed on his body, but the flames did not burn through the twig on his body. Buzz. The next moment, everyone saw Yichen being hung upside down. This scene was very familiar to everyone, especially Mei Heshuan. Looking at people upside down, Mei Heshuan felt extremely uncomfortable. Pa. Not good. Yi Qin, who was trapped, was a little stunned, but soon his expression changed drastically. He heard the sound of branches waving, and immediately after, he felt an intense pain on his butt. A sudden chill came over me. My pants are torn. Yechin's face changed. Cluck, 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 cluck. Flowers full of happy laughter came. She also waved the whip in her hand. Seeing the whip coming again, Yechin's pupils shrank. I give up, I give up. He hurriedly shouted out loud. Hiss. At this moment, everyone around sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. Their widened eyes were filled with shock. The strongest expert of their Dragon Gate Academy, the second-level profound void martial artist, Yi Qin, was actually defeated in an instant. Instant kill, a complete instant kill. Following that, everyone's expressions became strange when they saw the place where Yi Qin was beaten. His clothes were torn and the scenery within could be seen. Yi Qin was famous for being cold in Dragon Gate Academy. He had a dead face and did not smile. Being able to see him make a fool of himself this time caused many people to reveal a faint smile on their faces. Little princesses, do you still want to take in underlings? I have just dismounted. What do you think of me? At this moment a voice sounded. Soon after, everyone saw a fat young man run to the side of the two little demons and said with a smile. You want to be our little brother? Okay. Huar immediately nodded her head with interest. She looked at He Xiaoxiao and said, Now this elder sister and you, we will protect you. In the future, if anyone bullies you, tell me and I will beat them up. He Xiaoxiao's mouth twitched, but the fat on Ma Kai's face was squeezed together, and a happy expression appeared on his face. Well, two little princesses, may I ask, what realm are you at? The thin and weak young man who had spoken at the beginning swallowed a mouthful of saliva. When he thought of what he had just said, the corner of his mouth twitched, and he bowed slightly as he asked them in a low voice. Realm? I don't know. Huar shook her head, indicating that she was a little confused. It's the third level of the demigod realm. You don't even cultivate properly. Kair said to her from the side. Level 3 demigod. The thin young man widened his eyes and stuttered. Plop. Little princess, please accept my bow. From now on, your little brother Ma will follow you. A muffled sound came from the cultivation room. Ma Kair immediately knelt on the ground and shouted at Huar. Level 3 demigod? If you CK, this was a third-level demigod. Was the cultivation of Principal Xiao of Longmen School so high? It's definitely not the third level of the void interpretation. The thin and weak young man trembled and stammered as he asked again. It's a third-level demigod. Father also said yes. Kai nodded slightly and stretched out her index finger. A 10-meter-long mystical tree appeared, exuding a terrifying pressure. Big sister, please accept my bow. The thin and weak youth saw this scene and immediately shouted loudly. FUCK, 2 demigod rank 3 little princesses. I must hug their thighs. This strength, Longmen Academy's big sister. Chapter 1903. 1903 1903 Memories, Dreams. Hee. Huar looked at Ma Kai and the skinny youth's exaggerated appearance and could not help but laugh. Good. In the future we will take care of you and give you some delicious food. Hee. Huar waved her hand and threw the 5th-level void interpretation pills to Ma Kai, He Xiaowei and the skinny youth. Delicious. The three of them were slightly stunned. When they saw the elixirs floating in front of them, their eyes widened instantly. Daddy gave us candies. I'll give you one. Huar said nonchalantly. The 5th-level insightful void tier elixirs were indeed just their candies. Wang Xian gave them over 1,000 of them and used them as candies to eat. Go. Ma Kai and the other two looked at the elixirs in front of them and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Their eyes revealed a burning look. Thank you, little princess, thank you. It was a 5th-level void interpretation medicinal pill. Even if they were to go bankrupt, they might not be able to buy one. In the end, the two little princesses casually threw one to each of them. Candy? This was candy? They hurriedly thanked loudly, filled with excitement. This medicinal pill would be of great benefit to their subsequent cultivation. It could even help them raise their cultivation levels. Those two little princesses, do you still accept underlings? A youth thickened his skin and asked Huaer and Kaier in a low voice. Accept underlings, accept underlings. As long as you're obedient in the future, we'll take care of you. Huaer laughed loudly. Little princess, I want to be your underling. I'll definitely fight for the little princesses in the future. Little princess and me. In the future, I will do my best for the little princess. After Huaer finished speaking, the moral integrity of some of the academies in the elite class was immediately lost. In front of medicinal pills, what was face? Moreover, this was an invincible demigod rank 3 expert. Although they did not understand why these two little princesses had such terrifying strength, just the strength of a demigod rank 3 was enough for them to worship. Without any exaggeration, if they met a demigod level expert, it was normal for them to kneel and worship. Moreover, these two little princesses were so cute. With a wave of their hands, they were able to obtain a rank 5 void interpretation medicinal pill. Who would not be willing? Each person will be rewarded with a candy. Huaer generously waved her hand and gave one to each person. Little princess, I also want to be your little brother. Meiheshuan's mouth twitched when he saw this scene, and he squeezed out a smile with a dark face. Although he said that he was humiliated by the whip, it was all the whip's fault. What did it have to do with the two cute little princesses? What did it have to do with the two demigod level 3 evil little princesses? It was the whip that hit them, not the little princess. As long as you listen to us, we'll take care of you. Sister, it's still better to be a senior student. That group of juniors are all cowards and crybabies. This place is the most fun. Huaer saw 20 people gathered around them with smiling faces. The two little girls raised their heads, looking like big sisters. Yes, it's still better to be them. Kaier nodded her head in agreement. The other party would not cry even if they were to hit them, nor would they call their parents. This group of people was much better than that group of little brats. Let's go play with that thing that shoots hidden weapons. The two little girls turned their heads and finished up in the cultivation room. The group of people hurriedly followed by the side and explained to them. With a chance to interact with a demigod rank 3 powerhouse, even Yi Chen's face was filled with smiles as he went over. This? In the cultivation room, Mo Jio and Mo Shi's faces revealed bitterness when they saw this scene. Before school ends, tell that group of students not to tell anyone about the little princess. Mo Jio said indifferently. Okay. Mo Shi nodded his head in agreement. Looking at the 20 most elite disciples of the Dragon Gate Academy surrounding the two little girls in the elite room, they smiled helplessly. How is it? Did the two of you cause any trouble in the academy? In the evening, Wang Xian came to pick up the two little girls. He looked at the cheerful girls and asked with a smile. Daddy, we are so obedient. Kaier held onto Wang Xian's left arm and said while shaking it. Yeah, bad daddy. The people inside are really nice. Their words are pleasant and fun. Hehe. Huaer laughed and said non-stop. You two better not cause any trouble inside. Wang Xian smiled. Pitch, we're not going to cause trouble. Let's go home. The two little girls hopped toward the house while holding Wang Xian's hand. In the following period of time, a scene that shocked all the students in Longmen Academy happened. During lunchtime in the elite class, a group of 20 elite students accompanied the two little girls. Under the observation of some students, they discovered that this group of elite students, including the strongest person in the academy, Yi Chen, had brought food and water for the two little girls. They even saw that the two elite students from the elite class, Mei Xian and Ma Kai, had gotten a car, and the two of them were carrying it. On it sat two little girls, laughing happily non-stop. This made the other students of Longmen Academy extremely confused. Some of them wanted to understand the situation from the elite students, but in the end they didn't get any news. This divine ability of yours isn't so condensed. Your control isn't enough, you still have to practice your control. Yes, it's the little princess. Ma Kai, how can you be so stupid? The earth attribute is mainly based on defense. Is your defense all on your head? You have to cover your entire body, this pothole of yours is so fun. It's the little princess. What do you think we should do? Little Princess Yi Chen is not talented. I would like to ask you a question. Time passed quickly. 20 days passed in the blink of an eye. In the cultivation room, Huaer Kaier sat on a swing. The entire cultivation room was painted pink. In the room there were cute dolls and all kinds of toys placed around. The two little girls looked at the group of elite students cultivating in front of them and gave them some pointers. There were also elite students who came over to ask questions. Little princess, you guys are really amazing. After your little guidance, Yichin immediately understood. Yichin stood beside them and bowed respectfully. This was completely sincere. Hee, all right, don't disturb us. Huar waved her hand at her and looked at the computer in front of her. Little sister, did you feel that we didn't know about their problem before? But when we saw it, we were able to solve it immediately. Furthermore, I've been having dreams for the past 2 days and I've been dreaming about some things. Kair held her chin and looked at her little sister. Sister, did you have a dream too? I had a dream too. It affected my sleep. Huar turned her head and said with a smile. Obviously, she did not take this matter to heart. Why did I dream of another father and another mother? It's so real. Kair's eyes sparkled as she pouted. Could it be that we really picked them up? Chapter 1904. 1904 Sacred Mountain, the Celestial Race. Memories, dreams. After a god fell and a drop of blood was resurrected, they would not awaken all their memories in the beginning. They would awaken bit by bit as their cultivation increased. Huar and Kair's cultivation had already reached the demigod rank 3. This was the time for the memories to awaken. Perhaps they would be fully awakened tomorrow or at the next moment. After the awakening, their previous memories would be completely restored. Time passed slowly. Wang Xian stayed in the villa every day. However, in the past few days, he had also noticed some abnormalities in Huar and Kair. This was especially so for Kair. From the beginning, Kair had always been a quiet little lady. In the past few days she had become a lot more ladylike. Furthermore, her every move was completely different from that of an ordinary little girl. Just like the way she brushed her hair and the way she ate, there were huge changes. Wang Xian saw everything. Daddy, we're back. In the evening, the two little girls ran back after school. Now they didn't allow Wang Xian to pick them up. I'm here. Come over and let Daddy hug you. Wang Xian stretched out his arm with a smile and said to them. Hee, Daddy, our academy will be having a competition with other academies tomorrow. All the other students in the class will be there. We will be there too. Huar ran to Wang Xian and sat on his lap. She raised her head and said, The academy competition? Okay. Daddy will go with you guys then. Wang Xian thought of the sensational events that happened in the past few days and said with a smile. Thank you, Daddy. It's just silly. Huar happily kissed Wang Xian on the cheek. What do you guys want to eat? Daddy will get it for you. Wang Xian touched Kair, who was sitting beside him, and smiled at them. However, what Wang Xian didn't notice was that when he placed his hand on Kair's face, her small face instantly turned red and her eyes were watery. I want to eat meat. Huar immediately shouted loudly. All right. Wang Xian stood up. Do you want me to bring you guys there tomorrow, or do you want us to go with the academy? Daddy, bring us there. We want to go with Daddy. Huar said immediately. All right. You guys wait here. I'll go prepare food for you guys. Wang Xian nodded and walked into the kitchen. He was fine in the villa now. He was basically the one who prepared the meals for the two little girls. Sister, in the future you don't kiss your father so often. Kair looked at Wang Xian, who was busy in the kitchen. Her eyes were sparkling as she spoke to Huar, who was beside her. Sister, what's wrong? Huar blinked her eyes and looked at her sister. Have you been dreaming these few days? Kair asked her speechlessly. Of course. At first it disturbed my sleep, but in the end it was quite fun. Kair flipped her hair and touched her forehead. She was speechless and did not say anything else. The meal is ready. I'll call Xiaoran over to ask about tomorrow. As Wang Xian spoke, he patted the heads of the two girls and placed the food beside them. Then he gave Xiaoran a call. Master. Soon Xiaoran and Ji Lingfei rushed over. How was the competition this time? Wang Xian gestured for them to sit down and asked with a smile. Master, we will bring our students to Mount Hua tomorrow. There are 5 academies competing this time. Other than our 3 academies, there are also the Heaven Palm Academy and the Lingfeng Academy under the Heaven Palm sect. We are confident that we can obtain the first place in this competition. Xiaoran introduced the competition to Wang Xian with a smile. Is the competition at Mount Hua? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. Mount Hua was one of the divine mountains. Not far away from it was the land of the 9 dragons. Mount Hua was a land of outstanding people. The Vulcan Academy wants to hold the competition at their place. The Minjiu Academy wants to hold the competition at their place. Naturally, our Longmen Academy also wants to hold the competition at our place. After that there was no agreement. We could only find a central location. Since ancient times, there has been a saying about the sword debate in Mount Hua. Hence we held it at Mount Hua. This competition will be broadcasted live all over the world. It can also be considered as promoting the prestige of the few great academies. Xiaoran said. Wang Xian nodded. Currently, the 20 strongest forces in the world were respectively 1 sect, 2 clans, 3 academies, 4 mountains, 5 sects, and 6 sections. All of them were established by the son of deity prodigies. Mount Hua was now occupied by the Celestials. The Celestials were established by the eldest young master of the Divine Peak Corporation. The Celestials were the family name that he announced to the public. The celestial strength and the influence of the eldest young master of the Celestials were extremely powerful and terrifying. Once, he single-handedly defeated the Divine Sons and an expert on the God-sealing role of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. He was not a disciple of the 4 major forces, but he was extremely feared by the Divine Sons and Heaven's favorites. Among the 20 forces, the celestial race was considered to be one of the top existences. The 2 little girls said they are going over. Are they participating in this competition? Wang Xian asked with a smile. Let's watch Hua and Kair. If the other academies don't cheat, they don't have to participate. Master, do you recommend them to participate in the competition? Xiaoran looked at him and asked. It doesn't matter. The 2 little girls can participate if they want to. Wang Xian shook his head nonchalantly. As long as the 2 little girls were happy, it was up to them. Even if others knew about their strength, it was nothing. It's master. Xiaoran nodded. The first round of the academy competition was related to the ranking of the 3 academies. Obtaining the first place would naturally be of great benefit to an academy. However, he could not guarantee that there wouldn't be any tricks in this competition. Although they had set the rules, if other academies sent out Heaven's Pride level students or students whose strength was close to Heaven's Pride level, Longmen Academy would definitely not be a match for them. These students who were close to Heaven's Pride level were obviously prepared in advance by the academy by cheating. In addition, the Fire God Academy and Gate 9 Academy were established by the Fire God Palace's disciples and Pyramid disciples, so they had to be on guard. With flowers and flowers they could also have a guarantee. I'll bring 2 little girls with you tomorrow? Wang Xian said to Xiaoran and the rest. Yes, master. Xiaoran nodded. After chatting with them for a while, Xiaoran and the rest left. Wang Xian came to the villa and looked at the 2 little girls. He played with them for a while. The next morning, Wang Xian brought the 2 little girls to Longmen Academy. In the academy, an airplane filled with powerful energy was parked at the field. A few hundred academies entered the airplane. In these academies, other than the 20 elite students, there were also some students with good talent and potential who went to watch and prepare for the future competitions. Back then at Mount Hua, a few mountain peaks were destroyed by me. I wonder how they are now. Wang Xian sat in the private room of the plane and thought to himself with a smile on his face. Chapter 1905. 1905 Son of the 9 Dharma deities. With the recovery of spiritual essence, the earth changed and the divine mountain began to shine. Mount Hua, one of the current divine mountains, was once the west peak of Mount Hua. Now it was also shining with divine light. Among all the divine mountains, Mount Hua was once ranked at the top. Back then, the divine sons and the experts on the God Ascension role fought over this place. The eldest young master of the Divine Peak Corporation appeared out of nowhere and suppressed the experts on the God Ascension role. From then on, his name shook the world. The area of Mount Hua was now more than 1,000 square kilometers. It was more than 10 times the size of the past. The lowest height of each mountain was 5,000 meters, which was 4 to 5 times the height of the past. The divine light enveloped the surroundings, making people feel warm and comfortable. Yaoxia did not dare to step into such a place. It seems that after the Earth's metamorphosis, the few mountains that were severed back then have already recovered. Wang Xian came to the sky above Mount Hua. He scanned the area below and thought to himself, Mount Hua was now the territory of the Celestials. On the tallest mountain peak there were two big words, Celestials, written on it. On the mountain peak at the side, some of the words, Shinfeng Corporation, were also carved on it. Shinfeng Corporation was now the leader of the three major pharmaceutical corporations. Their elixirs were sold to the entire world. Roar! At this moment, roars could be heard from the front. Wang Xian looked over and saw a group of people riding on flaming demonic beasts flying towards the bottom of a mountain. That should be the Vulcan Academy. Wang Xian looked over and mumbled. Currently, the mainland of Earth had become one. The three academies were established for the disciples of the Ling Shao Palace, the Fire God Palace, and the Pyramid. The strength of each academy was not to be underestimated. If it were not for the existence of a group of tutors at the peak of the insightful void stage and the existence of the mysterious and powerful vice principal Ji Lingfei, the Dragon Gate Academy might be considered the weakest existence in the three academies. That is? At this moment, Wang Xian looked into the distance. A golden pyramid was flying towards them. The pyramid was emitting a thick earthen yellow luster. The entire pyramid had a radius of about 10 kilometers and was emitting a powerful pressure. This is the Kingdom of God, the unfinished Kingdom of God. Wang Xian looked at the pyramid with a hint of surprise in his eyes. The unfinished Kingdom of God was equivalent to the ruins of the Kingdom of God in the vast area of the supernatural continent. If this unfinished Kingdom of God was not built by a god, it would have been built by a demigod at the 8th or 9th level or even a peak powerhouse. Master, we're here. At this moment, the plane stopped at the foot of the mountain. Xiao Ran's voice could be heard. All right. Wang Xian nodded and walked out of the plane. Master, that's a disciple of the Vulcan Academy. That powerful pyramid is the Gate 9 Academy. The founder of the Gate 9 Academy is the son of a god. Walking down, Xiao Ran looked at the pyramid flying towards them with a solemn expression. The strongest thing about the school of Gate 9 was its background. The founder of the school was the son of a god in the pyramid. They had resources that other schools could not match. Is the school of Gate 9 very strong? Wang Xian asked with a smile. I'm not worried about the strength of their students. I have great confidence in the competition this time around. Xiao Ran said confidently. Wang Xian nodded his head. Daddy, daddy. At this moment, the voices of the two little girls could be heard from the side. On the plane, the two little girls didn't sit with him. Instead, they sat with a group of students. Is that the father of the two little princesses? He actually came. Moreover, our principal is actually with the father of the little princess. The fathers of the two little princesses are so young? To be able to have such a powerful daughter, he must be very powerful. To be able to have our principal and vice principal follow by the side, could it be that the fathers of the two princesses are the upper echelons of the Lingxiao treasured palace? It's really possible. The students who had alighted from the plane looked over and discussed in low voices. This was especially so for the 20 students from the elite class. They knew Huara Kair's strength. They were also filled with surprise towards their father. Master, the competition will only start tomorrow. The Protoss has arranged a mountain peak for us to rest on. Xiao Ran said to Wang Xian. Will the two of you follow us to the mountain peak where we live or go out to play? Wang Xian looked at the two little girls and asked. We'll let Sister Yao accompany us and go out to play with our classmates. Hua replied immediately. All right then, you two go ahead. Call us if you need anything. Wang Xian nodded at them and gestured to Yao. It's the Dragon King. Yao nodded immediately. Let's go, let's go. There are so many mountains here. Let's go out and play. Hua turned her head to look at her classmates and said loudly, Sister Hua is really too playful. Ji Lingfei said with a smile from the side. Let them play. I don't know how long they can continue to play like this. Wang Xian looked at the carefree Hua and said with a smile. Huh? Ji Lingfei was slightly stunned. She heard the hidden meaning in Wang Xian's words. She looked at Hua and Kair. The two of them were not weak anymore. Their memories might be about to be completely restored. Let's go. Wang Xian glanced at them and gestured to Xiao Ran. The group of them walked towards the mountain peak where they lived. When they came to the top of the mountain peak, Wang Xian glanced at the divine mountain Mount Hua. The divine blood that was stained with the divine blood was emitting the last of its divine radiance. Although this divine mountain was not as good as the divine kingdom, it was comparable to a pretty good paradise. Master, the appearance of Mount Hua back then has changed drastically. I still remember the scene when I fought with you and the leader of the Donghua Saint sect here. Xiao Ran walked over from behind. He scanned his surroundings and said as he recalled the scene. More than 10 years ago the earth changed too much. Wang Xian said faintly. Divine Son of the Nine Gates, welcome to the celestial race's Hua Mountain. I am Xinyuan Wu, here to welcome all of you. At this moment, at the foot of a mountain beside Hua Mountain, the pyramid landed on the ground. A group of more than 500 people walked out from the pyramid. A middle-aged man from the celestial race immediately went up to welcome them respectfully. The people of the Protoss did not need to come up to welcome the Dragon Gate Academy, the Fire God Academy, and the other 2 secondary academies. However, the Protoss still had to attach great importance to the Gate 9 Academy. The reason was that the dean of the Gate 9 Academy was the son of a god, the son of a female Dharma deity in the pyramid. There was still a huge gap between the son of a god and the son of a real god. Mr. God, where is your eldest young master? In the middle of the crowd, a tall, handsome young man wearing khaki leather clothes and khaki gloves looked at Xinyuan Wu and asked indifferently. I'm sorry, Ninth Divine Son. Our eldest young master is unable to come personally to welcome you. Everyone please, we have already arranged a place for you to stay. Xinyuan Wu hurriedly explained with a smile. Your eldest young master is really busy every day. We don't need a place to stay. Take us around. Have the other academies come? Sect 9 Divine Son's expression didn't change as he lightly asked. Sect 9 Divine Son, the Dragon Gate Academy, Fire God Academy, Skypalm Academy, and Spirit Peak Academy have arrived. Dragon God's Unstoppable Path. Chapter 1906. 1906 Conflict. Dean, the Fire God Academy isn't too far away from us. I know a little about them. Their strength isn't bad, but they're definitely not our match. Sky Palm Academy and Spirit Peak Academy aren't qualified to compete with us yet. The only one is the Dragon Gate Academy. They're our only match. On the road of Mount Hua, a woman standing beside Divine Son 9 of the Gate said with a smile. Regardless of whether it's the Dragon Gate or the Fire God, our Minghui Academy must obtain first place in this competition. Since I've established a faction, I must become first among all the factions. Shensi Minghui's eyes flickered with intense confidence as he said proudly. As the son of a god, he had his own pride. Among the few academies, his faction's background was the most powerful. If the academy he established couldn't become first, then how could he make his mother look up to him? How could he give his mother an explanation? Therefore, in this academy competition, his Gate 9 Academy had to obtain first place. Moreover, they had to completely suppress the other academies. Dean, don't worry. My strength has already reached the 3rd level of the Profound Void tier. I will definitely be able to suppress all of them. A young man approached and said respectfully. Yes. Shensi Minjio smiled faintly. He had his own trump card. He would not lose this time in the academy's competition. I believe that with the strength of the 9 Gates Academy, I wish Shensi Juman the best. Xinyuan Wu smiled at Shensi Juman and said, I wonder where you are planning to go, Shensi Juman? I heard that there are dozens of spiritual altars in the celestial race's Mount Hua. Bring us to the spiritual altars to take a look. Xinyuan Wu said to him. Okay. Everyone follow me. There were once people who comprehended divine abilities from the spiritual altars on our Mount Hua. There were also people who comprehended divine abilities in front of the spiritual altars, and their strength increased by leaps and bounds. Xinyuan Wu continued with a smile. Divine attacks or things left behind unintentionally will leave behind some meaning. If one can comprehend them, it will indeed be very beneficial to cultivation. Divine Son Menjiu clearly understood some of this aspect. He looked at the crowd behind him. If any of you are lucky enough to comprehend some, I will definitely reward you greatly. Thank you, Headmaster. The group of students and disciples immediately called out respectfully. Little princesses, this is the spiritual pedestal. It's the only open and mysterious place on the divine mountain, Mount Hua. Every day, a large number of people come here. There are people who have gained enlightenment here, and their cultivation is increasing rapidly. At the peak of Mount Hua's spiritual pedestal mountain, a mountain peak that was about 5,000 meters tall reached straight into the clouds. At the top of the mountain peak, there were many blood-red stone platforms. The stone platforms were irregular, and one of the stone platforms even had a palm print on it. The 20 elite students of Longmen Academy brought Huar and Kair, the two little princesses, to this place and introduced them. The surroundings are so beautiful, hee. Huar swept a glance at the spiritual pedestal and looked around. Immortal mist lingered around it and it was filled with fairyland. Tell Daddy later, let's move here. Let's go take a look at the spiritual pedestal. Maybe we'll have an epiphany. The elite disciples of Longmen Academy at the side said as they looked at the spiritual pedestals one by one. Spiritual altars. Kair blinked her eyes and looked at the blood-red spiritual altars in the distance. There were more than 20 spiritual altars on the spiritual pedestal peak, and each of them had a different appearance. As she looked, she felt that there was a mysterious power within them. Wang. Her mind trembled as if she had been drawn away by the energy within. Her body emitted a faint energy and memories appeared in her mind. Sister, what are you looking at? Hua saw that her sister's expression was not right, and her gaze also looked towards the spiritual pedestal. Oh. However, very quickly, her mind was also attracted by the familiar energy within the spiritual pedestal, and images appeared in her mind. Oh my God, they are having an epiphany, they are having an epiphany. Right at this moment, an excited voice came from the side. A cry of surprise caused everyone around to look over. Oh. Everyone around was slightly shocked and immediately looked over. There were 200 to 300 people at the peak of the entire mountain. When they saw Hua Kair's body exuding a mysterious energy, their faces revealed a shocked expression. What? The two little princesses and the others? The group of Dragon Gate Academy's elite students were slightly stunned and their faces were filled with astonishment. Immediately surround the surroundings, don't let others interrupt. When Yao Nu saw this scene, she immediately ordered the group of students. Yes, yes. The rest of the students immediately nodded, surrounding the surroundings, their gazes sweeping over everyone on the mountain peak. Our Dragon Gate Academy students have an epiphany, please don't disturb, or else don't blame us for not being polite. Yichen stood in front, his body emitting an imposing aura as he warned everyone around him. The students of Dragon Gate Academy, those two little girls are students of Dragon Gate Academy? Looking at their clothes, they are indeed students of Dragon Gate Academy. I didn't expect that two of them would have an epiphany. What a great opportunity. Looking at their clothes, they seem to be elite students of Dragon Gate Academy. They are going to participate in the competition tomorrow. That young man should be an elite of Dragon Gate Academy called Yichen. I didn't expect that there would be someone among them who had an epiphany. This is a great event. Perhaps Dragon Gate Academy will become the leader of the 5 great academies. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they revealed astonished expressions. At this moment, the students of Longmen Academy had an epiphany. It might have some effect on the competition tomorrow. Moreover, no matter what, the students of Longmen Academy having an epiphany at Mount Hua's divine stage was a very good publicity for Longmen Academy. Oh, what's going on? Just as the surrounding people were filled with envy and astonished discussions, Xinyuan Wu led the 9 divine sons and the others to the divine stage. When he heard the discussions around him, Xinyuan Wu was slightly startled. He looked toward the center and couldn't help but exclaim, "Someone has had an epiphany. A student of the Dragon Gate Academy?" The 9th divine son looked over and was slightly stunned. Then his expression slowly turned unsightly. An epiphany by a student of the Dragon Gate Academy wasn't a good thing for their Dragon Gate Academy, especially during this period of time. Oh. Behind them, several students from Gate 9 Academy looked over. When they saw the 2 little girls being protected layer by layer, they were all astonished and their expressions changed. The 2 little girls had an epiphany. Could it be that those 2 little girls are members of the competition this time? Are they students of your Dragon Gate Academy? Beside Divine Sun Gate 9, several academy instructors saw that Divine Sun's expression wasn't good, so they directly asked Yi Chen and the others. Gate 9 Academy? Yi Chen and the others looked at the 300 or so people who had just arrived and slightly raised their brows. That's right, we're from Gate 9 Academy? I presume you're the disciples of Longmen Academy in this competition. An old man from Gate 9 Academy asked Yi Chen and the others with sparkling eyes. Chapter 1907. 1907. Under the conflict of 1907. Don't disturb our Dragon Gate Academy students' epiphany. Yi Chen's gaze swept over everyone in the Nine Gates Academy as he said coldly. The 20 students of the elite class coldly swept their gazes over everyone around them. Their two little princesses had an epiphany. This caused them to be astonished, but at the same time, their hearts were filled with incomparable admiration. It seemed that it wasn't without reason that the two little princesses were able to reach the demigod third rank at such a young age. If you don't want us to disturb you, then speak properly. A trace of coldness appeared on Shensi Men's face when he heard Yi Chen's words. His voice entered Yi Chen's and the others' ears. They frowned slightly as their gazes fell on Shensi Men. That is. When they saw his face, their hearts trembled slightly as shock appeared on their faces. Headmaster Gate 9, I'm sorry. Two of our classmates had an epiphany. Yi Chen and the others recognized the identity of the ninth divine son and hurriedly said respectfully. He. The ninth divine son smiled disdainfully. Is that the headmaster of the Gate 9 Academy? This is the son of the Pyramid God. The ninth divine son of the Gate 9 Academy. When the surrounding people heard Yi Chen and the others' respectful words, they looked over with shocked expressions on their faces. It's just two little girls having an epiphany. Unfortunately, it's too early to have an epiphany at this age. The old man next to Divine Son Menjiu swept his gaze across Huar and Kair and shook his head slightly. Yes, Vice Principal. If it were their Dragon Gate Academy's elite students having an epiphany, we might have to be a little more serious. It's just two little girls. Their luck is pretty good. But tomorrow, our Nine Gates Academy will still be able to easily suppress the Dragon Gate Academy. A student from the Nine Gates Academy said with a smile, as if he didn't put the Dragon Gate Academy in his eyes at all. Itchimpich, that might not be the case. In tomorrow's battle, we won't need the two of us little princesses to make a move. We can also suppress you. Ma Kai heard their words and snorted lightly. In the face of the Ninth Gate Academy's provocation, even if the Ninth Gate Divine Son was here, they couldn't weaken the prestige of the Dragon Gate Academy. Two little princesses? When the Ninth Gate Divine Son heard his words, he slightly raised his brows and looked at the two little girls who had suddenly gained enlightenment. The few middle-aged elders beside him also looked over with flickering eyes. Boom! At this moment, an aura spread out from Huar Kair's body and swept out in all directions. What a powerful aura! Could it be that the two little princesses are about to break through? Yi Chen and the others hurriedly looked over, their faces filled with surprise and joy. What? This aura? Divine Son Menjiu and the other academy experts beside him had awe-inspiring expressions. Their eyes were filled with shock. Oh my god, this aura is so strong. Even if it's restrained, it's still so terrifying. How can the strength of those two little girls be so strong? Is it because of an epiphany? What a terrifying aura. This aura is comparable to some heaven's favored sons, right? Two such young students of the Dragon Gate Academy are actually so powerful. This Dragon Gate Academy is heaven-defying. The first place in this grand competition is basically guaranteed. When the surrounding people sensed Huar and Kair's aura, their faces revealed shock as they discussed one after another. When the ninth Divine Son heard the surrounding people's words and saw the strength of two such young students from Dragon Gate Academy, his face slowly darkened. He snorted coldly and everyone's hearts trembled. It was as if their hearts had stopped. Everyone's faces instantly turned pale. Even Lady Yao's expression changed drastically. You. Lady Yao stared at the ninth Divine Son with a grave expression in her eyes. Everyone around also looked at the ninth Divine Son in horror. They didn't understand why he was suddenly so angry. He actually interrupted. He actually interrupted the scene in our minds. At this moment, Huar's slightly angry voice sounded. Kair also recovered from the scene and glared angrily at the ninth Divine Son. He was interrupted. Everyone's expression changed slightly when they saw the two little girls wake up. You actually interrupted us, you detestable fellow. Kair's small face was somewhat cold, and a faint dignity radiated from her body. In my actions I can do whatever I want. I don't need a little girl like you to question me. You don't have the qualifications, HMPH. The ninth Divine Son coldly said. How overbearing. Everyone's hearts trembled slightly when they heard the ninth Divine Son's words. Headmaster Ninth Divine Son, I didn't expect that you would actually do such a thing. Did you see that your ninth Divine Son Academy isn't a match for us two little princesses' rising strength? Are you going to interrupt their epiphany in this way? Yi Qin and the others questioned the Divine Sons of Gate 9 with embarrassed expressions. Afraid of you? Our Gate 9 Academy will be afraid of you, hee. When the students of Gate 9 Academy heard Yi Qin and the others' words, they stepped forward and said disdainfully, You bunch of scoundrels, none of you are good. Huar stared at them, her eyes flickering with fury. Little girl, watch your words. A female student of the Gate 9 Academy said to her coldly, You bunch of people, you're asking for a beating. Huar glared at the female student and continued speaking. Breaking someone's epiphany really makes people look down on you. The disciples of your Gate 9 Academy are all trash. Ma Kai stood by Huar's side and spoke directly. I think you're all courting death. When all the Gate 9 Academy students heard his words, their faces also revealed an icy expression. For a moment, the entire spiritual pedestal peak's aura froze. Courting death? Headmaster Gate 9, do you dare let your academy's elite students fight with us? Yi Chen's face was gloomy as he spoke directly to Divine Son Gate 9. You bunch of bastards, you're asking for a fight. Today I'm going to teach you all a good lesson. Huar also waved her arm and a whip appeared in her hand. She swung it. How about it, Headmaster Gate 9? We'll spar with your Gate 9 Academy students. Your academy's teacher won't make a move, right? He Xiaowei also stood up and spoke directly to Shensi Gate 9. The elite students of the Dragon Gate Academy actually want to challenge the Gate 9 Academy here. My god, the spar is tomorrow. Today I have to say that the students of the Dragon Gate Academy are all very domineering. Although Divine Son Gate 9 is domineering and tyrannical, interrupting the epiphany of the students of the Dragon Gate Academy, if he doesn't agree today, I reckon that the Gate 9 Academy will have a bad reputation. When the people on Shintai Peak saw the domineering students of the Dragon Gate Academy, their faces were filled with astonishment. The elite students of the Dragon Gate Academy wanted to directly teach the students of the Ninth Gate Academy a lesson. Under such circumstances, if the Ninth Gate Academy didn't dare to accept the challenge, then it would be a great loss of face. Everyone, the Academy's grand competition will be held tomorrow. This is our land of the Celestials. No one can fight in our territory. At this moment, Xinyuan Wu, who was standing beside Shensi Minjiu, frowned and said directly when he saw this scene, Shut up. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Kair angrily shouted at him. Her cute and beautiful face had an unprecedented dignity. Chapter 1908. 1908. Who in 1908 would dare to cause trouble in the Protoss? Just now, Kair's memories were quickly awakened due to the attraction of the divine power in the divine pedestal. If no one disturbed them, she would be able to recover all her memories. This way she wouldn't have to dream about all kinds of things every day. Being interrupted by Shensi Minjiu, she was abnormally angry. She was filled with coldness and impatience in front of the Protoss Divine Yuan Wu. My friends from the Protoss race, where did you go just now? Why are you talking now? Don't you know that you can't be disturbed when you have an epiphany? Yao Nu looked at the Divine Yuan Wu and said coldly. Well, you. Hearing Kair's angry shout and Yao Nu's questioning, the Divine Yuan Wu looked embarrassed. You want to teach us a lesson? Do you have the qualifications to do so? At this moment, when the students of the Gate 9 Academy heard Yi Qin Hua Er and Kai Er's words, their faces also revealed a cold expression. They didn't have the slightest fear towards the students of the Dragon Gate Academy. Moreover, the other party actually wanted to teach them a lesson, so they naturally didn't cower. They had strong confidence in their own strength. A group of more than 20 young men and women walked out. With a wave of their palms, weapons appeared in their hands. Well then, we'll teach you guys a lesson today. Yi Qin and the others also moved their palms, and weapons appeared one after another. When Xinyuan Wu saw this scene, his expression changed drastically. He immediately looked at the ninth Divine Son by the side. However, when he saw his ice-cold expression, a bitter expression appeared on his face. If it was a faction, the celestial race could still intimidate them. However, the conflict between the two academies was not something he could resolve. Immediately report to eldest young master. Right now, only eldest young master can resolve the matter here. Xinyuan Wu's expression darkened. He immediately made a phone call. You'll soon know if you have the qualifications or not. Ichimpich beat them up. Hua Er glared at them angrily and immediately swung her long whip at them. The rest of Yi Qin and the others were full of vigor, and the weapons in their hands emitted a brilliant light. They are fighting. Let's quickly dodge. Could it be that the Dragon Gate Academy and the Gate 9 Academy will decide the victor today? Everyone in the surroundings was slightly shocked and hurriedly dodged to the side. Courting death. Let them experience the might of our Gate 9 Academy. The students of the Gate 9 Academy revealed a powerful fighting spirit as they shouted loudly. Pa pa pa. However, at this moment, a vine directly lashed towards them. The vine was like a poisonous snake. Ah! A student of the Gate 9 Academy didn't notice and was instantly struck. He spat out blood and flew backwards. What? That little girl is so strong. The expressions of the other 20 or so Gate 9 students changed slightly. However, before they could consider it, Yi Qin and the others had already arrived. The 20 elite disciples of the Dragon Gate Academy, after Hua Er and Kai Er, the two little girls, gave them medicinal pills and gave them pointers, the lowest strength of their group had already reached Transcendent Level 9. Among them, Yi Qin, who was the strongest, had already reached the 3rd level of the Insightful Void Realm. They attacked at the same time, causing the expressions of the more than 20 disciples of Gate 9 and 1 to slightly change. Kai stared at the 9th divine son of Gate, and a green light flashed in her eyes. Her slightly tender eyes revealed wisdom that did not match her age. Her gaze fell on the disciples of Gate 9 Academy, and she waved her hand. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Vines covered the entire mountain peak in an instant, directly wrapping around the students of the School of Gate 9. Break for me. The strongest expert of the School of Gate 9, the youth who also possessed the strength of the 3rd level of the Profound Void Tier, saw the sudden appearance of the thorns, and he hurriedly waved the earthy yellow hammer in his hand, shaking it towards the ground. Waves of earthy yellow fluctuations shook towards the thorns. Not good. However, in an instant the powerful undulations landed on the vine, but to no avail. This caused his expression to change drastically. So. Branches directly appeared beneath everyone, wrapping around their legs. Oh no, how is this possible? At this moment, the expressions of all the disciples of the 9 Gates Academy changed drastically. They looked at the incoming attacks from the students of the Dragon Gate Academy, and fear appeared in their eyes. Damn it. The faces of the Divine Son of the 9 Gates Academy and the teachers of the 9 Gates Academy also changed drastically when they saw this scene. A middle-aged man waved his hand, and a huge earthen yellow shield appeared in front of the more than 20 students of the 9 Gates Academy. Following that, a sharp sword appeared in his palm and slashed towards the thorn that was restraining the students. Hmpich, even the teachers of the School of 9 Gates have made a move. How shameless. When all of Yi Chen's attacks were blocked, Huar's voice rang out, however, I will beat them today. As Huar spoke, she waved the long whip in her hand and instantly struck towards the more than 20 elite students of the School of 9 Gates. So fast. The instant the long whip was waved, the pupils of the old man standing beside the Divine Son of 9 Gates narrowed slightly. They wanted to attack now, but it was too late. Pa pa pa. Ah! An incomparably tragic sound rang out. A long bloody scar instantly appeared on the bodies of the more than 20 students of the 9 Gates Academy, accompanied by a miserable scream. When Shensi Minjio saw this sudden scene, his expression instantly darkened. The old man at the side immediately made a move and caught the students of the 9 Gates Academy one by one, preventing them from falling down. A bunch of earth-shattering dogs. Such trash still dares to participate in the grand tournament of the Academy. Right at this moment, Kai Er's voice resounded throughout the entire spiritual pedestal peak. Hiss, this, instant kill. The students of the Gate 9 Academy were actually instant killed. Those two little girls are so terrifying. This is a battle on a completely different level. The Gate 9 Academy doesn't have the strength to resist at all. The gap between them and the Dragon Gate Academy is too big, right? So fast? Damn, the Gate 9 Academy is nothing compared to the students of the Dragon Gate Academy? When the surrounding people saw this scene, their faces were filled with astonishment. They had thought that it would be a battle of equal strength, but they hadn't expected that the Gate 9 Academy would be instantly killed. Wasn't the gap too big? The competition hadn't even started, and the Gate 9 Academy had already been crushed. Boom. At this moment, an incomparably terrifying aura soared into the sky. In the entire spiritual pedestal peak, everyone's expressions changed drastically as they hurriedly looked over. In front of everyone from the Gate 9 Academy, Divine Son Gate 9's clothes rustled, and a terrifying killing intent overflowed from his body. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared icily at Kair. What, is the headmaster of the Gate 9 Academy going to make a move? Kair looked at the son of God of the Gate 9 Academy and mocked him coldly. Kair. Yao Nu's expression changed slightly when she saw Kair actually provoking the son of God of the Gate 9 Academy. The person in front of her was the son of a god. His strength was not an ordinary demigod. She called out softly and immediately sent a message to Wang Xian. Things had already exceeded her expectations. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.